o'clock. I'm Tim Hughes with a quick look at some of our top stories. Credit card debt in the U.S. is now more than $1 trillion. And according to the lending tree, the average here in Utah is more than $6,600. Interest rates on those cards went up about 10% last year.
If you're only paying the minimum payments on that balance, rate jumps such as that is going to extend it 5, maybe even 10 years, how long it will take to pay that off.
Certified financial planner Shane Stewart says the best way to start getting control of the debt is to create a spending plan, also known as a budget. The West Valley USANA Amphitheater is getting a new sponsor and a new name. The concert venue will be known as the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. It's the first time the venue will be getting a new name since it was built all the way back in 2003. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. New Hampshire voters are heading to the polls today. Two Republican presidential candidates remain, Nikki Haley and, of course, former President Trump. Haley spoke to reporters outside one polling location and said that it's no shock to her that she outlasted most of the GOP presidential fields so far.
I didn't get here because of luck. I got here because I outworked and outsmarted all the rest of those fellas.
Voters registered as independents are eligible to vote in the primary. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed. The NASDAQ joined in the party the wrong direction. It was down a little while ago, but it's now up just 3 points. The S&P is off only 2. The Dow is now down about 0.4% or 142 points. Coming up, these clouds aren't going to go away. And matter of fact, they're bringing along with them at least a slight chance of some showers throughout the day. We'll check the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return air. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No. We tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Brought to you by Dominion Energy's ThermWise program, where they put their energy into helping you conserve it. Start saving energy and money today at thermwise.com.
Are you ready for a showdown? Are you ready? How about a Shape Up Showdown with SOTA Weight Loss? It's SOTA, stands for state-of-the-art weight loss, because it is, and it is time for a Shape Up Showdown. You could actually win a full year of SOTA's amazing program to get you in the best shape, the best health of your entire life. All you got to do is send an email to shapeup@sotaweightloss.com. You could win a full year of the program and get this, a $2,000 wardrobe makeover as part of this showdown. And you're going to need the makeover because SOTA Weight Loss works, because it's state-of-the-art. I lost 37 pounds in 90 days, and get this, I am 2 years into my Shape Up. and still going strong because I have the help of a coach, a mentor, a nutritionist to guide me every step of the way. They'll do exactly the same for you. As I always say, when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So start winning today. Check it out at sotaweightloss.com, SOTAweightloss.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Michelle's waiting for us in the traffic center.
Well, I-15's quiet in Utah County, seeing the delays started to set in just past 90th South in spots up to about 13th South. Also, if you're on Foothill Drive, you're going to see some slow times there. Revere Health encourages you to schedule your preventative health care and annual checkups to help increase the potential to live your most healthy and active life. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner in life. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Just a slight chance of rain today, but regardless, those clouds are going to stick around for the rest of the afternoon. Chances will only increase, actually, as the day goes on, and then a chance of snow after midnight. Right now, just cloudy downtown and 37 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Remember to listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, I put it this way early on this morning, Dave, that today is the biggest test for the only female in the race for the White House. But if Nikki Haley gets trounced by a very confident Donald Trump tonight...
You know how to do this. You know Iowa starts it. You know that you correct it.
Let's say she doesn't get a correction in New Hampshire. What about Haley as Trump's running mate?
Ooh, that is a little bit what I thought all along. It's been strange how uncritical she has been of the former president. She's been given a million opportunities to criticize Trump for not showing up to the debates, by not, speaking out, all of his legal troubles, but she's never really criticized him. So it's always felt, are you playing it safe? So the backup plan is vice president. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And sponsored by Mountain America Credit Union, the launch is 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Well, I want to know if that razor wire is already being removed from the southern border by the Border Patrol. Supreme Court of the United States handing the Biden administration a really big win, allowing agents to cut down that razor wire Texas put up to keep the migrants out, to keep them on the other side, the southern side of the southern border. Texas actually installed 30 miles of this stuff, Dave. I didn't realize it was 30 miles. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott vowing it's not over. So in the 10 o'clock hour, let's take you live with News Nation to the southern border, to the exact spot this showdown is happening.
So this is what I have to say to the Biden administration. Okay, fine. No razor wire. Then what? What do you want to do? We know what you don't want to do. We know what you're not doing. So what are you for? Because right now you're just, no. We're against everything, any kind of change. Okay, then give me your plan, because that's what we're struggling with. We have no idea what they're actually doing about the southern border.
Countdown. 2.
You're trying to get your arms around your money in 2024 so you keep more of it and spend less of it. Well, we're going to go right on the money at 10:35. It's a new concept in counting our pennies and keeping our pennies called loud budgeting. Never heard of it before, but when I looked it up, here's the Cliff Notes version of it. And we'll go in depth at 10:35 on it, but just don't be embarrassed to spell it out. Like loud and proud to friends and family, leaning on you to spend money you don't have. When they ask you to go to dinner in a text this back to them. I can't afford it.
It's not I don't have enough, it's I don't want to spend.
We're doing drinks or dinner, we're not doing both.
Oh, sorry, I can't. I don't want to spend $100 going out to dinner with you when I could put $100 in my high yield savings account.
Can you imagine that text? If I see high yield savings account in a text, it will be an entire day worth of GIFs making fun of you. Like, that's how it's going to happen.
We are so opposite on that. I absolutely love it. Let's just be honest with each other.
I will shame you into ordering the full steak and potatoes. The full steak and potatoes.
Hey, if you're buying, I'm in.
Launch countdown 1.
And now there are 2, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. And we have had 6 overachieving early birds that got their votes in just after midnight in a New Hampshire tradition.
A vote for Nikki Haley. Another vote for Nikki Haley. So that's 2 votes for Nikki Haley.
It was a clean half-dozen sweep in the smallest town I've ever heard of on the planet. 6-0 in favor of Nikki Haley, but only 6 people live in that town.
Just the northern tip of New Hampshire. Hey, okay, sure, it's a good start. It also will likely mean nothing. Latest polls show Donald Trump still has a hugely double-digit lead in New Hampshire. But what I find screwiest about this whole primary thing, President Joe Biden, isn't even on the New Hampshire primary ballot. And now they're doing this like write-in campaign, like, okay, I know he's president and everything, but if you could just write his name in the ballot. What did you forget to put it on? Did you forget who the president was?
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We know that Nikki Haley, she has been counting on New Hampshire for quite some time now. Even before the Iowa caucus happened. She is definitely putting her faith in the Granite State. That's New Hampshire.
I trust every single one of you. You know how to do this. You know Iowa starts it. You know that you correct it. You know that you continue to go.
That's good. That's good.
And then my sweet state of South Carolina brings it home. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Now, she will need a big New Hampshire correction. She came in 3rd in Iowa, got trounced by Trump by 32 points in Iowa. So the correction is like a straight U-turn. Trump is hardly even paying attention to the primary. He's already in November mode.
You're going to put Crooked Joe and his protectors on notice that we are coming in November.
No, he's super confident. This is the first one-on-one contest. These two haven't even been on a debate stage together, right? I mean, she's been like, where's Trump? Well, here he is, Haley. He's on the ballot with you. Polls close. This is going to be
tongue
a
twister.
Long
We're
day.
doing that.
We're starting early. Polls close at 6:00 our time.
Why should we assume, this time we have to have Biden and Trump? That's not fair to the American people. More people deserve to be able to vote. And I'm going to give them that option.
But Haley, despite grabbing the first 6 official votes this morning in New Hampshire, the latest poll from the Boston Globe shows Haley getting destroyed by likely Republican primary voters. Although there are a lot of undeclareds, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment, and whether they will impact a vote in favor of President Trump, former President Trump, or former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. So we'll talk about that in just a few moments. But right now, according to the Boston Globe, she's losing by 22 points.
That's huge. Because, again, it's not just Republican primary voters that can vote in this. You can, I think you can even sign up day of to cast your ballot. So maybe it's going to be much closer than that. But still, this has been what's kind of lost in the entire conversation. It does not matter. Any poll does not matter how Nikki Haley is doing head-to-head against Joe Biden, how likely it would be that she wins. Because if she can't beat Donald Trump, none of it matters, and New Hampshire is her best chance.
Let's go live to New Hampshire. ABC News standing by for us live in 3.5 minutes.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
And then there were two.
Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
New Hampshire votes tonight, and there are just two Republicans left. Nikki Haley.
I don't take politics personally. I never have, and I think that's the problem with where we are now.
Donald Trump.
I feel my mind is stronger now than it was 25 years ago. Is that possible?
Who takes the delegates in New Hampshire? Listen tonight on the drive home and first thing tomorrow to KSL News Radio.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails from people all the time. Here's one. Dear Dan, I hear your talk about a lifetime service guarantee. Free? Really? Please help me avoid all your fine print and be honest, we should be very wary of a free offer. Signed, Skeptical. Hi, Skeptical. I remember 22 years ago when we started PC Laptops and our lifetime service guarantee, people thought it was too good to be true. Well, after a decade, people started believing me a little bit. But it's been 22 years of having the privilege to serve our friends and neighbors like you. Our lifetime service guarantee has become the most trusted warranty in the industry. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop computer, and they start at only $29 a month. Check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. Here's to seeing you soon, Skeptical.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try soon. Harry's is available online and in-store at a retailer near you. Get a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/quality. That's harrys.com/quality. Or check us out at your local Costco for a price you can't find anywhere else. Just look for the Chrome Razor with 13 blade refills at your local Costco. You can't miss it. Exclusive to Costco members.
Tired of living in your parents' basement or renting? You want to buy a home, but you were told that your debt-to-income ratio is too high. This is why you need a highly qualified mortgage lender. Rick at Loans by Rick has 22 years of experience and has helped hundreds of clients lower their debt-to-income so they can make the most important purchase of their lives and buy a home. As with any profession, there are different levels of mortgage lenders, so why not work with the best lender? One that can cut through the mortgage jungle and get you into a home. As interest rates come down, home values will go up, creating multiple offers which will raise home values higher. Don't wait to buy a home. Buy now. You can always refinance later and save hundreds of dollars. Let Loans by Rick guide you with your mortgage process. Call 801-809-SAVE or click loansbyrick.com. That's loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
Hey folks, it's Doug and Kathy with Window World.
Doug, can you believe it's been 20 years?
What's been 20 years?
Well, since we opened our first Window World store.
That is amazing. Our motto today is the same: quality products, professionally installed, backed up by our awesome warranty.
And our team shares those very same values.
Come see us today. We have stores in Murray and Spanish Fork for your convenience.
Experience the Window World difference. Call 801-281-8111 or visit windowworldutah.com.
And we promise no baloney.
Introducing Yes, Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Maximize your energy savings with a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system from Yes, and you could save up to $4,500 through possible tax credits and other discounts. Purchase a new system today, and Yes will buy back your old inefficient HVAC system. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, Utah is seeing one of the biggest upticks of credit card delinquency in the nation. Second, the West Valley USANA Amphitheater is getting a new sponsor and a new name. The concert venue will be known as the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. And third, a teenager died in a sledding accident over the weekend. Now officials are promoting sledding safety, saying it should be treated like any other winter sport. We're going to be looking for a high today, mid-40s, 45 actually forecast for Salt Lake City, and right now 37 downtown. Let's get you back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, to get that correction that Nikki Haley is hoping for, New Hampshire is really going to have to pull through for her after what happened in Iowa.
You know how to do this. You know Iowa starts it. You know that you correct it.
The primary polls close tonight, 6 o'clock our time in New Hampshire, which is great news for you because on the drive home, you can tune in to Jeff Kaplan. He'll start getting some results. We will have those live for you here at KSL News Radio, of course. Trump, of course, with the big lead in the polls. But the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., he really doesn't care about the margin of victory. He's just looking for the win.
So what does a good night look like?
I don't know. You know what? I like wins. I don't like when people say, you're up by 4,762 points. And then if you win by 4,700, they say it's a gross failure.
DeSantis and Haley got destroyed in Iowa. So this is the best chance, maybe even the last chance for Haley to build some momentum. If she loses New Hampshire, that means she will have lost Iowa. She got destroyed in Iowa, over 30 points. Loses in New Hampshire as well. And then she goes to her home state of South Carolina. She's losing there as well. So what's the path forward? If you can't win your home state, I don't know how in the world you can expect anyone else to vote for you.
Well, I'm curious how turnout is this morning. Let's get live with Michelle Franzen of ABC News. She's in Manchester, New Hampshire. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. I did head out to the polls early this morning, just outside Manchester, a town called Bedford, and people were turning out pretty early, on their way to work, stopping by the local high school where the polling center was taking place, and they were taking their vote very seriously. One voter saying that it is their civic duty and weighing their options heavily. And it's different, listening to you talk, it's a different feel here in New Hampshire, even though it's a two-person race, because this is an open primary, much different than the Iowa caucuses. You have over 300,000 independent or undeclared voters here, and that is the swath of voters that Nikki Haley is hoping to add to her final tally tonight when those polls close. Whether or not they go for her, whether or not they go for Trump, or whether or not they go in for write-in candidate Joe Biden, because that's in play here too. So that could be a spoiler for Haley, because the Biden campaign also has expressed that they would like nothing better than this election to turn the page to the general election with a solid win up against Donald Trump.
So you alluded to it. Maybe you can help our listeners understand what in the world happened. It's so odd that President Joe Biden isn't on the New Hampshire ballot. The fact that you have to write in his name, what in the world happened?
Well, you might remember the Democratic National Committee decided to shake up their Democratic primary calendar. They made South Carolina the first Democratic primary instead of going with Iowa, instead of going with New Hampshire, which has been traditionally what voters have experienced in each election cycle. So that is what's messing up. However, New Hampshire, in their charter, their constitution, they must be the first primary in the nation. So now you've got this whole write-in candidate situation going on. You've got Dean Phillips that's also running, and it's been sort of a get out the vote campaign now in the last few weeks for Joe Biden as the write-in candidate to draw away those independent voters, maybe away from Haley, maybe away from Trump. And then, of course, the first primary for the Democrats happens in South Carolina, February 3rd. Republican primary in South Carolina happens later in February. I hope Got that.
Yeah, Michelle. Yeah, Michelle Franzen. Wait, we've got our calendars out, Michelle. You're good. We'll keep note of this here at KSL News Radio. Michelle Franzen, ABC News correspondent, live for us this morning in Manchester, New Hampshire, as voters head to the polls in the primary there. And you just brought up a very interesting point. Stay with me for just a second here, Michelle. You also brought up another interesting point, which is the undeclared or independent voters that are registered in the state. I looked it up this morning. There's well over 300,000 of them. In fact, they best the number of registered Democrats and registered Republicans. So that could be that could play out in Nikki Haley's favor, because my read of this is those voters who don't declare with either Republican or Democrat Party, they can vote with either party today. And that could be that could turn out in Nikki Haley's favor.
It could, and that's what she's banking on in this very unique open primary that could give her the win here in New Hampshire, or at least come within striking distance of, Donald Trump's leads in the polls that could keep her in the race longer, especially in her home state, as you mentioned.
Is there a sense in the Haley camp that if she doesn't reach a certain benchmark, if she gets beaten by double digits, let's say, that could be a breaking point for the campaign?
I'm sure there is, but they're not talking about it publicly. And Nikki Haley herself at a polling center visiting one in Hampton earlier today was asked that very question by another reporter. And she says, look, I'm not here to talk about an obituary. She says, I'm here to run against Donald Trump, and she's staying in the race. So she's sounding confident going into this day, and we'll see about that confidence once the polls close later tonight.
Any sense at all, let me just follow up with Dave's question, then we'll let you go, that she could become Donald Trump's running mate as vice president? I know they've gone back and forth, and there's been some words exchanged over the course of this campaign, and he said no, but one point he said, well, she's a killer, meaning maybe. What's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, he chose her for his first administration to be the UN ambassador. They've had this, long-term relationship during that time where it's been, more positive than negative, but anything happens during election cycle. You could see Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump went at it, during that campaign. The other few days ago, they started playing nice again. So, anything could happen. I don't think, we know at this point who might be the running mate, but and I'm not certain the Trump campaign wants to show that card yet.
Michelle Franzen, thank you for joining us in New Hampshire, near Manchester, ABC News correspondent.
Which walks us up very nicely, tees us up for our next conversation about just kind of, playing out the scenario. Nothing's definitive. We know that things go back and forth in politics. It's never business as usual. But what if President Trump does take a big win tonight in New Hampshire? Nikki Haley decides to bow out of the race like Ron DeSantis did on Sunday. But President Trump names her as his running mate.
Yeah, the running mate thing, it's always felt kind of like it was looming. The fact that after 5 debates that nobody really went after Donald Trump except Chris Christie. Chris Christie was the only one that was really going against Donald Trump, but everybody else felt like they were just playing nice, saying some things that might poke at him a little bit, but mostly played it extremely safe. No other candidate in the history that I can think of would have been given such latitude as Donald Trump was given. Every time the moderators were asking them questions, poking them, trying to get them to say something about Donald Trump, and it was like, oh, well, maybe, sort of.
So, all is fair in love and war, and in politics, it seems, and these candidates always go after each other. We just expect that we actually, we kind of embrace that, actually. I think it does get more people interested in politics the more they scream at each other, which is a sad state of affairs, but that's just how it is. But we know that the very moment that Ron DeSantis backed out of the race on Sunday, he gave President Trump a ringy-ding, and here's part of the conversation.
He just said, will I be using the name Ron DeSanctimonious? I said, that name is officially retired.
President Trump officially retiring the name Ron DeSanctimonious, which he's been calling him, this guy, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, this for months and months. And immediately, all is forgiven. And I think President Trump went on to say something to the effect of, when you win, it's easy to move on and forgive. So Nikki Haley has called out President Trump, former President Trump. It was late as this weekend over his cognitive abilities because he's made some blunders on the campaign trail. But for the most part, she has played pretty nice with him. I mean, there's been some back and forth, in moments, but for the most part, she's played pretty nice. So is she teeing herself up to be his running mate? Let's dive into that conversation next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's take a look at some of our top stories this half hour. Last year's big winter could very well help us get more water to the Great Salt Lake this year. Statewide reservoir levels are at about 80% capacity, which is more than 20% above where they normally are this time of year. That opens the door for those reservoirs to send excess water downstream to the Great Salt Lake. Whether it happens or not, Great Salt Lake Deputy Commissioner Tim Davis says we will need to conserve as much as we can.
So that's about how complicated it'll be to get the lake back to a healthy level and sustain it there, that everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction.
The lake still needs at least 5.5 feet to reach its optimal healthy level again. That could take years to happen. Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson will give the State of the County address tonight. She's expected to outline the county's achievements from the past year and what they hope to achieve in the year ahead. Now our top national story this hour from ABC News. The U.S. and the U.K. launched strikes on Houthi militant groups again to stop the attacks on shipping vessels in the Red Sea. ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang has more.
This time, officials say that they have hit an underground Houthi storage facility in addition to drone and missile sites. Now, U.S. officials, they insist to me that their strategy is working, that it is making it harder for the Houthis to continue their attacks in the Red Sea. But the Houthis say they aren't backing down. They claim that their actions are in protest of Israel's military campaign in Gaza.
Those attacks have been costly. Some vessels have had to divert their routes away from the region altogether. Your money at this moment, everything in the red now. The Dow is down 190. We've had several days of big gains, but we're off about 0.5% now on the Dow. The S&P down just 6, and the NASDAQ also losing 17.5 this hour. Coming up, today's going to be another cloudy day, and there could be a few sprinkles here and there. We'll check the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hey, Deb, one of the things, obviously, you and I, we both like to DIY it. You know, if there's a project to be done, we get our hands dirty. Both of us are like, when it comes to electrical, no way.
I don't even like to look at my electrical outlets. That's why we have Master Electrical. And they have upfront pricing as well. It doesn't matter what the electrical project is. You need to call them, get them to your house right away. Get this, checked off your honey-do list. Give Master Electrical a call no matter what your electrical needs are.
We went out to lunch the other day with the owners, and they were just talking so passionately about doing right by the customer. It was a common theme. The entire lunch was just, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and they do everything. It's lights, ceiling fans, smoke detectors, generators, batteries, you name it, EV charger installs, they do it all.
And they do it all with their upfront pricing guarantee. Luckily for you, they serve from Santa Quin to Logan and everywhere in between. So make sure you look up their number. Actually, you don't even have to look up their number. Here it is right now, 801-543-2222, 801-543-2222. And get them out to your house or your business.
Yeah, or check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Hi, this is Congressman John Curtis. As I'm sure you've heard, I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'd like to invite you to my campaign kickoff this Tuesday, January 23rd, 7 p.m. in Woods Cross. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. Join me to celebrate our early momentum across the state and see why I'm feeling so optimistic about the race. I hope you'll come say hi Tuesday evening, share the excitement, and be part of this journey. We'll have refreshments, engaging conversations, and great company. This Tuesday, January 23rd, 7 p.m. in Woods Cross. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. You can RSVP and get event details at johncurtis.org. I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate, and as your senator, I'll keep getting things done for Utah. See you Tuesday. I'm John Curtis, and I approve this message, paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
Traffic and weather together again is brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Michelle, how are things looking?
Well, Tim, I'm looking at a live shot of a new crash. This is northbound I-15 at the collector ramp to take I-215. So this is just south of 7200 South. It's off to the right, but it's in the bend, so you're going to want to use some caution as you're going through that area. Cypress checking account members enjoy discounted rates on auto and RV loans, free access to their credit scores and reports, and a suite of other products and perks. Learn more at cypresscu.com. Cypress Credit Union. Your future is their future. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
There is a slight chance of rain today. You may have already seen a few drops this morning, but regardless, those clouds are going to stick around. The chances will only increase as the day goes by, with a chance of snow actually coming, a little bit of it in the valley floors anyway, after midnight. We'll look for a high today of 45 degrees and right now 38 in Salt Lake City. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Remember to listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We just went live to New Hampshire, where voters are getting to the polls. The primary, of course, today. This is a big test for the only female in the race for the White House, Nikki Haley. We'll start getting results tonight during your drive home, so make sure you keep it right here with Jeff Kaplan. He'll give you the latest, and, of course, tomorrow morning with Tim and Amanda. But President Trump is certainly confident, as always.
You're going to put Crooked Joe and his protectors on notice that we are coming in November.
So assuming, and we're only assuming, Trump trounces Haley in New Hampshire, The Atlantic is reporting what I think is a curious question. The Republican primary candidate is no longer campaigning to be the next president. Instead, she's auditioning to be Trump's VP. I want to explore that with you, Dave.
Yeah, and vice president is kind of this strange little world. Not often does the vice president have a lot to do. I mean, think back the last several times we've had a vice president. It's not a very popular position. Kamala Harris, not very popular. Right now, Mike Pence couldn't even muster up any kind of support for his presidential run. So why would you want to be vice president? Why would you be campaigning for that? Well, in part because Trump can only serve one more term. If he gets reelected, it's 4 years and out. So there has to be an heir apparent. So the idea would be, if I'm the vice president, I'm the natural heir apparent.
I want to back it up. I think you want to be on the ticket so your party can win the White House. because I think President Trump with a Vivek might be a Republican loss, for example, but former President Trump with a side of Haley might be something more Republican voters can stomach. We just spoke to ABC News' Michelle Franzen, who was in New Hampshire live for us just moments ago. And she said, they're not there yet. There's been no decision, of course. It's just too early for both candidates to make that call.
He chose her for his first administration to be the UN ambassador. They've had this, long-term relationship during that time where it's been, more positive than negative. But anything happens during election cycle. You could see Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump went at it, during that campaign. The other few days ago, they started playing nice again. So, anything could happen.
And it's easy to play nice once everybody drops out. All is forgiven. I don't know how you come back from some of the mean stuff you say or the nicknames. I guess that it's just the political world.
Maybe it's just a nasty internal dispute that gets dropped and you move on and you don't look back.
Ambition will cure a lot or forgives a lot.
So let's go deeper into this Atlantic article that raises the question that Haley is now auditioning and has been maybe for quite some time to be the vice president, to be second on the ticket behind Donald Trump. And they say in the article from the start, everyone's motives in this campaign were obvious except for Haley's, which you've pointed out. Right? You've said she's really kind of stood back and not said a lot of negative until very recently, questioning his cognitive abilities after a few missteps on the campaign trail. But she's been really kind of quiet and quite nice by political standards regarding President Trump. The Atlantic says Mike Pence wanted a postscript, so like a PS, now I'm president. Chris Christie wanted to sound the alarm.
Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Yeah, I mean, so Chris Christie hits the campaign trail to just go after her.
The worst joke ever.
I know, it fell flat
to
try to go after him. Yeah. And Vivek wanted a TV show. What are your thoughts about that, Dave?
He wanted a TV show? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's the Atlantic's.
Oh, okay.
That's how they're looking at these different candidates. And I think they said something along the lines of Ron DeSantis, bless him, he thought he had a chance to win. But Haley hasn't really shown her cards, and that what potentially makes her a possibility for VP. So the Huffington Post, Fox News, both reporting that Trump has already shut down the idea of Vice President Nikki Haley, saying she's not presidential timber.
She's not right to be president. I know it very well. The wrong thought process, the wrong policy. And honestly, she's not tough enough. She's not tough enough.
But I don't want to let it rest there because a month ago he said she's a killer.
Everybody wants to talk about President Trump. Well, I can talk about President Trump. I can tell you that I think he was the right president at the right time. I don't think he's the right president now.
Which is a very, very safe place to play. The reason it always feels like she's auditioning for vice president is because no other candidate, if you are truly trying to defeat them, would have been given the latitude that Donald Trump was. There were 5 debates, and not once did these candidates just open the fire hose of criticism against Donald Trump. If they truly wanted to beat him, then they would have gone after him, but they didn't. And it feels like there was an ulterior motive, and that ulterior motive, has to be the vice presidency.
Let me tell you my biggest reason why I think if she doesn't do well tonight in New Hampshire, she has to be considered as vice president, as his running mate. And this is because there have been a number of polls, including the Wall Street Journal and others, as well as CNN poll, that in a head-to-head matchup against President Joe Biden, which is looking like this is, going to go that way for former President Trump and current President Joe Biden, we're going to have a rematch of the last election. But in a head-to-head matchup, at top of the ticket against Joe Biden, Haley wins hands down against all of the other candidates who were polled in the GOP primary field. So she wins hands down. In a Wall Street Journal poll, she's up 17% over Biden. In a CNN poll, she's up 6% over Biden. So I think Republicans and maybe even some more, some Democrats, I'm not totally convinced of that, but certainly those voters that are in that movable middle that Boyd always talks about, the undeclared, the independents, the unaffiliated voters, will perhaps be able to stomach another term with President Trump as long as Nikki Haley is on the ticket as vice president, because she does appeal to the more moderates, and that's where she could shine tonight with like 343,000 undeclared in New Hampshire. 343,000 undeclared voters in New Hampshire who can vote either Republican or Democrat in the Democratic race tonight. Either primary they can choose to vote in. They have more undeclared voters in New Hampshire than they do Democrats, than they do Republicans. So if she can grab a big swath of those undeclareds tonight, I think she's prime. She doesn't win tonight, but I think she's definitely prime to be on the ticket as vice president to Donald Trump.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
15 years ago, we were adding on to our home, and so I convinced Sean we should update the kitchen.
We did some research, and we decided to go with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Their reputation was phenomenal. To design, do the construction and the finish work, what we wanted was what we got from start to finish. So fast forward 15 years, our family's changed. We've gotten bigger.
There just wasn't the space in the kitchen anymore. People were banging into each other.
We decided 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Here's the problem. What are our solutions? Comparing working with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath 15 years ago, today, their ability to design what you want was the same.
Everything has been what I want.
The quality of 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, I think, is phenomenal. The countertops and the cabinets that they use are great. They were just good guys doing good work.
For more about your new kitchen or bath, visit 3daykitchen.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
IVC, Interventional Vascular and Vein Center, is having a New Year, New Leg special event on Saturday, January 27th. This will be a free screening for varicose veins at their office in Provo. Don't let leg pain slow you down in 2024. Why wait? Now is the time to kick off the new year with new legs. Come and learn why starting at the beginning of the year is ideal to get you ready for spring. IVC has been in business for over 20 years and has been voted the best vein center of Utah Valley for 10 years running. IVC's doctors, advanced practice providers, and sonographers will be on hand to answer your questions. So come see them Saturday, January 27th for a free varicose vein screening. Space is limited, so please RSVP right now. Visit ivein.com. That's the letter I, VEIN.com to schedule your New Year, New Legs free screening at IVC. Because life starts when the pain stops.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and we all loved and grew up with the game. Now you're going to love the show. It's on the stage at Hale Center Theater right now, and it's called Clue. It is so funny, so clever, and I've got to tell you this. I love plays that include slow motion scenes, I'm not kidding you, and even rewind scenes. And if you're looking for the best death scene ever witnessed on the stage, it's waiting for you right now at Hale Center Theater in Clue. But there's so much more coming up in the 2024 season, and that includes Fiddler on the Roof. That's coming up next. Sound of Music, May We All, a country musical, The Time Machine, The Nutty Professor, Aladdin, The Magician's Elephant, and Beauty and the Beast. It's going to be a great season at Hale Center Theater. Go to hct.org to get your season tickets, individual tickets, and of course, gift cards.
Get deals on what you need during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Right now, save $250 when you buy a DeWalt 12-inch sliding miter saw and adjustable stand together. Plus, save $710 on an LG kitchen suite and earn 3 times the bonus points on all LG appliances. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Bonus points calculated before tax and fees after applicable discounts of any. Valid 1/15 to 1/26. Subject to change.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
That doesn't sound good.
Paper shredder's jammed, but I think I fixed it.
Oh, well, try shredding these $50 bills then.
Seems like it's working.
Better try another $400.
Stop. Instead of using money, use regular paper. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, Utah lawmakers are considering a bill that would make companies give subscribers a clear heads up anytime they are about to renew a subscription. Second, according to a new report from late 2022 to last fall, Utah had the 4th biggest increase in the country of people not making their minimum credit card payments. And third, all 28 storage units were damaged by a big fire in Harrisville that firefighters say was complicated by snow-covered hydrants. We're going to look for a high today of 45 degrees, cloudy most of the day, and right now in Salt Lake City it's 38. Back now to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
So what happens if the Oakland A's temporarily move to the new Daybreak baseball stadium that's under construction in South Jordan? At least for a couple of seasons. That seems to be in the works right now. The possibility may become real in the very near future. And that would be instead of the Salt Lake Bees playing there as planned. They may end up staying at that 1300 South Smith's Ballpark after all.
I don't want to hurt any Salt Lake Bees out there. I don't want to hurt their feelings. But quite honestly, you're an afterthought. The idea of a Major League Baseball team coming to Utah, we will move heaven and earth. We will do anything to accommodate the Oakland A's coming here. And the Bees would be, quite frankly, an afterthought. So if the idea is, hey, you've got to stay at Smith's Ballpark for another couple seasons, that would be done in a heartbeat.
No, we've covered this story at length over the last couple of days. And we reported yesterday and even late last week that the A's have been looking at that South Jordan site. It's still under construction, but they do need a temporary home until their official stadium is finished, built in Las Vegas. So we asked Amanda Covington, she's the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer with the Larry H. Miller Company, to join us yesterday to talk about the A's and the possibility of occupying the new Daybreak Stadium.
If they agree to come here, it would be 25, 26, and 27 seasons, and it would be 81 games a season there. So it's in the near term.
Incredible to think this could happen next year. I mean, spring training is just a month away. And to think by this time next year, the Oakland A's could be playing in Utah?
I want to go back to what she said.
If they agree to come here, it would be 25, 26, and 27 seasons, and it would be 81 games a season there. So it's in the near term.
If there are 81 games played each season for 3 seasons at that new Daybreak Ballpark, you are our sports expert, Dave. Does that mean there's no room to pack in the Bees for home games?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No way.
There's no way you can do that.
It would be a scheduling nightmare.
Okay, so that just leaves Smith's Ballpark.
Right.
Amy Hawkins, she's the Ballpark Community Council chairperson. She's live on the line with us. We have been so curious to talk to you about this because we want to know what the neighborhood's thinking and feeling that the Bees might be back.
Hey there. Thank you so much for having me on.
So what's the sense amongst your neighbors out in the Ballpark community? Are they excited at the possibility that the Bees might be back? Because there had been a lot of, there had been a lot of headway made on what to do with the future of that space.
Yeah, there's a little bit of push and pull. As of Thursday, the first swirling rumor was that we might even get the Oakland A's in our neighborhood. So I have to say, at the beginning, there was a little bit of disappointment, because if you're thinking about we might get Major League in our neighborhood, that sounds really exciting compared to what's been the status quo in our neighborhood for decades. And what we've been told a few times now just really haven't met the neighborhood's needs in terms of an economic stimulus. So, of course, we'd welcome having the Bees for a few more years, especially while we figure out what to do with the ballpark site in our neighborhood. But, I have to say some folks were a little disappointed hearing that we weren't necessarily going to be the targeted site.
It surprised you that Major League Baseball would look elsewhere and not downtown Salt Lake?
I think just in terms of the seat numbers, just in terms of the mass, it was confusing to folks. We have over 14,000 seats here, and we know that the Daybreak Stadium was supposed to be half that.
Yeah, that is exactly where my mind went, Amy. And we're speaking with Amy Hawkins, who's the Ballpark Community Council Chair. So the ballpark community has, been a part of this tug of war, kind of the back and forth of what do we do? We're going to move the Bees. Now the Bees are going to come back. But if the Bees do leave, then what are we going to do with the old ballpark, and how are we going to redesign it or refurbish it? Does this in part help buy you maybe a little time to go to the next steps of what redesigning looks like, the ballpark, or repurposing this area?
Sure. If it comes to fruition, I don't think anybody would mind having more time to seriously think about what to do with the stadium. But it doesn't bring anything unique to what we know can happen in this neighborhood. We know we can successfully host the Bees. So that's one of the things that we were really excited about for potentially hosting the A's, would be that additional economic stimulus and just really bringing additional imagination to the neighborhood, thinking about more possibilities. That would be really exciting for us.
So that's an aha moment for me in this conversation with you, Amy. I thought we were further down the road, and it sounds to me that things are a little bit complex, maybe confusing, and that actually there's been no real good plan put in place for what to do with the stadium starting in 2025. Am I picking up on that correctly, or am I wrong?
Well, the city just issued its RFP and its request for proposals. And so it has worked with the community pretty extensively to develop these 6 guiding principles that whoever is chosen for this RFP will be asked to follow. But, they're still going to be proposing a plan for the ballpark, a development plan. So in that sense, no, I don't think we've chosen a path yet, but we have some pretty strong guidance. We hope that the developers of this site are going to follow. The community has been pretty committed to showing up over and over again for the station area plan, which was a big redevelopment plan for the area, as well as this site plan. We hope we're listened to.
Is there a downside that you can think of to have the Bees return, or what are your feelings on that?
I was really heartened to hear the mayor's office say when this possibility was first raised in November that, we're ready for Major League expansion in Salt Lake City, but the mayor's office isn't interested in delaying the rebirth of the ballpark neighborhood until 2028. So it sounds like we're trying to get some balance in terms of, even if we were going to maybe rehost the Bees for a few more years here, that we would still look for ways that the neighborhood could change in between now and 2028, that we wouldn't be interested in maintaining just the status quo. that we would be looking for additional investment dollars. And as you know, the Miller Family Foundation is spearheading this $100 million investment fundraising effort to invest in the neighborhood in terms of, I believe they called it human capital. And so we don't really know what that's going to look like.
Yeah,
yet,
it'll be interesting to see if that continues to move forward. And it sounds like there's a lot of question marks still in the community of what will happen. Well, I think there's still a lot of question marks of what in the world is going on. So we appreciate you joining us. Thanks, Amy.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. 2 Utah legislators looking to make auto-renewing subscriptions more consumer-friendly.
You set a New Year's resolution and you go down and you join the gym and you sign a contract and you go for 3 weeks and then you never go again. And then 3 years later you find out that you've been paying, $30 a month from your credit card.
That's State Senator Todd Weiler. He's co-sponsoring a bill with Representative Cheryl Acton that would make companies give a hard-to-miss disclosure whenever they're renewing a subscription. That includes free trials that turn into payment plans. Organizations that don't comply could face a fine of $2,500 per violation. Utah families are spending some mega money at the grocery store. A new census survey shows Utah has the 11th most expensive haul at the grocery store, about $278 a week. The most expensive state is California at about $300 a week. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: the pitfalls of relying on artificial intelligence as a law enforcement tool, graphically illustrated in a case from Texas. ABC's Jim Ryan says it goes back to a robbery at a Sunglass Hut in Houston 2 years ago.
Security video from Sunglass Hut was put through facial recognition software, and the police were told,
"You can stop your investigation. We have your guy."
Harvey Eugene Murphy Jr. was identified as the robber despite being in California at the time of the holdup. Murphy's lawyer, Daniel Dutko, says the 61-year-old was later arrested in Texas. Before he was cleared of the Sunglass Hut robbery, he was assaulted in jail.
He's very upset and he's traumatized by everything that happened.
And Murphy is suing for $10 million. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average sliding this morning, 164 points down right now. The NASDAQ, though, is up about 6 points. And KSL weather, the clouds just stick around. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Tired of living in your parents' basement or renting? You want to buy a home, but you were told that your debt-to-income ratio is too high. This is why you need a highly qualified mortgage lender. Rick at Loans by Rick has 22 years of experience and has helped hundreds of clients lower their debt-to-income so they can make the most important purchase of their lives and buy a home. As with any profession, there are different levels of mortgage lenders, so why not work with the best lender? One that can cut through the mortgage jungle and get you into a home. As interest rates come down, home values will go up, creating multiple offers which will raise home values higher. Don't wait to buy a home. Buy now. You can always refinance later and save hundreds of dollars. Let Loans by Rick guide you with your mortgage process. Call 801-809-SAVE or click loansbyrick.com. That's loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
Introducing Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. We're bringing all of Utah's favorite HVAC, plumbing, and electrical brands under one roof. Call the pros at Yes and take $50 off any heating, cooling, plumbing, or electrical system repair over $200. Get fast relief and $50 off any repair from Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. The same great people providing the same great service that Utah has counted on for more than 45 years. Visit theyesmancan.com to schedule your appointment.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, they're still working on clearing the crash northbound I-15 to the I-215 collector ramp. It is on the right shoulder as you're going around the bend approaching 7200 South, so use some caution going through the area. Otherwise, I-15 in good shape. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Clouds stick around in northern Utah with a few rain and snow showers. More rain and snow could come in Wednesday night and Thursday. And right now, we're at 39 degrees. It's cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
In a matter of moments, we're going to take you live to the southern border in Texas. We're wondering if the razor wire is already being removed from the area. You know, I think the governor there put up some 30 miles of razor wire. And late yesterday, the Supreme Court of the United States siding with the Biden administration to take down that razor wire that Texas put up to keep the migrants out.
Did you say 30 miles?
I think it was 30 miles, but we're going to go live there. We'll verify that.
That is incredible. Now, the thing where my mind goes is, okay, great. So no razor wire, then what? Because I know what the Biden administration is saying is we don't want the razor wire. People are getting injured. It's a deter. Okay, then what are you doing? Because you've kind of forced Texas into trying to figure this out on their own because millions of illegal migrants are coming into Texas.
Let me put some context around the Supreme Court decision. It was a 5-4 ruling in favor of essentially overriding a lower court decision that was keeping the Biden administration from removing the wire because there's a legal case that is winding its way through court. So the Supreme Court basically gave the nod to the Biden administration and the Border Patrol to go in and start removing that razor wire. All the while, the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, who is in charge of putting the razor wire up, ultimately said he's going to continue to defend Texas's constitutional authority to secure the border. And prevent the Biden administration from destroying our property. That's
our razor
Texas
wire.
Governor's response to this showdown. Let's go to Jorge Ventura, who's with News Nation. He's standing live for us now at the Texas border, at the southern border in Texas. So set the scene for us, Jorge. Is the razor wire already getting cut down, and how much of it is there?
So right now there's about 29 miles of razor wire on the Eagle Pass border. For some context here, Eagle Pass has just been one of the epicenters in the humanitarian crisis. I was here all last month, and this area was getting around 2,000 illegal crossings per day on average, and there was actually a day where there was over 4,000 migrants that crossed illegally in just a single day. So Texas DPS and Texas military essentially have taken control of an area called Shelby Park on the Eagle Pass border. It's about 2.5 miles. It is a hot spot for migrant crossings. And Texas essentially has kicked out Border Patrol agents from conducting their normal operations. Now, Border Patrol does still have access to a boat ramp in Shelby Park, but they are not allowed to conduct normal operation. So today, we were at Shelby Park doing our live hits, and we did not see any Border Patrol agents either attempt to enter Shelby Park or even in the vicinity. So no razor wire has been cut as of right now, and it seems from my conversations with Texas DPS and Texas military officials that they are going to be holding their ground is essentially what they're saying, and will not allow Border Patrol agents in. So it seems like they're going to stand firm on this and following the governor's orders of staying put, not to allow Border Patrol agents in that Shelby Park area, and making sure that Texas officials are the one that's commanding that area right now.
So you're expecting some sort of a showdown between Border Patrol and the Texans?
As of right now, it's unclear. So as you guys mentioned before, right, so the Supreme Court is saying that the feds are allowed to cut that razor wire. But particularly in that area of Shelby Park, Border Patrol agents are, as of right now, are still not allowed in. So they have no access to that razor wire. We haven't seen Border Patrol agents today attempt to enter Shelby Park. Now, that could change, later today. It could change possibly in the next 30 minutes. But as of now, no Border Patrol agents are in Shelby Park, so they're not conducting the operations. They have no access to the razor wire. And in my conversation with Texas officials, they are telling me that they're going to hold firm on that decision and not change their posture at all, despite the ruling from the Supreme Court yesterday.
How effective, and maybe you can describe a little bit where this razor wire is, and how effective was the razor wire in deterring people?
So the razor wire is essentially placed on the river banks of the Rio Grande. Now, if you're a Border Patrol agent and a migrant has reached that razor wire, they're technically already on U.S. soil. So once a migrant gets kind of in the middle of that Rio Grande, they're already on U.S. soil. So they technically, by federal law, have to be apprehended by a Border Patrol agent. Texas is playing the role of trying to block and deter migrants from entering Shelby Park or any of that area. And that razor wire, from what we've been seeing, has been working pretty well to deter migrants from crossing. It does force them to walk, 2 or 3 miles more down the river until they find a Border Patrol agent to turn themselves in. Now, some migrants still try to go through that razor wire, so they'll get injured going through that, and that's where we've been seeing kind of videos where Border Patrol will then come in, they'll cut that wire, and they'll take that migrant into custody. But with no Border Patrol agents there, you do have Texas officials now actively blocking migrants from entering. I was there a couple of days ago where we did witness Texas military actually using riot shields and blocking migrants from entering Shelby Park, which is a kind of a complete different tactics from Border Patrol, where once that migrant, like I said, once that migrant reaches the riverbank, they're essentially on American soil. So then the agents will begin that apprehension process.
So Jorge Ventura is with News Nation. He's the national correspondent at the border for us in Texas this morning. He's been reporting live this morning as well for News Nation. And Jorge, so paint me a picture here, because this starts to sound extremely inhumane. If somebody is getting trapped in the razor wire, and Border Patrol agents, federal agents, are not allowed in this area that you're saying that Texas authorities have kind of set up ground and are refusing at this point to let federal agents into. Are Texas authorities then going in and rescuing these people that are trapped in the razor wire? I'm hoping you're not going to tell us that they're, allowing them to stay trapped in this razor wire.
So what we've been seeing is if there's a situation where there's children in that razor wire, well, then Texas officials will get the kids out and get those migrants out of that situation. If it's just we also been seeing if it's just adults, they will not come in and help that migrant through that concertina wire. They're actually playing more of that where they're trying to then block. They'll get riot shields and then block those migrants. I'm sure you guys probably seen some videos and images as well where migrants previously were then climbing on top of the shipping containers that have also been placed on the border and then going over the shipping containers. So now Texas officials have put concertina wire on those shipping containers. So unless there's children or a medical emergency, Texas officials right now are not playing a role of trying to help migrants get over or anything like that. That's kind of been more on the Border Patrol's role. But Texas officials, from what we've been seeing, have been pretty aggressive on blocking migrants from even stepping foot on Shelby Park. And if a migrant is a single male or a woman, and they do, get through that wire and make it into Shelby Park, then that's where Texas DPS is coming in, and they're arresting those migrants and then are charging them with criminal trespassing.
Jorge Ventura, thank you for joining us from News Nation. Is at the border. That was very descriptive, and we will continue to follow this.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some more developments today. Of course, Jeff Kaplan's show will cover the latest. Tim and Amanda tomorrow morning, as there appears to be a showdown getting set up right now between Texas authorities, who appear to not want to allow federal agents, even though the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, has ruled that the Biden administration wins in this case, at least temporarily, that Border Patrol agents can go into that area and start cutting that near 30 miles of razor wire down. It doesn't appear that Texas authorities are willing to let that happen. And as you said, David, it does seem like there's a showdown about to happen.
Yeah, and I just assume, since the Supreme Court ruled on this, that
You'd
that
follow
it was
the rule of law?
a little bit.
That
I
you'd
don't know.
follow the rule of law?
Trying to figure out what the justification is behind this.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 in favor of the Biden administration on this one. And again, it's just as the court case itself winds its way through the courts. This often happens in cases where the Supreme Court has to make a decision. They didn't really give a reason as to why, that we know of anyway, but that's not necessarily unusual. It is just essentially a temporary ruling. But what a story shaping up there at the southern border in Eagle Pass, Texas. Next, we're going to go out to the Great Salt Lake to check the water levels because we know we've had such great precipitation in the last couple of weeks. Thank goodness Mother Nature turned the ship around for January, because December was just looking terrible. So let's check in with the water levels and the latest on getting the Great Salt Lake back to normal. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
And then there were two.
Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
New Hampshire votes tonight, and there are just two Republicans left. Nikki Haley.
I don't take politics personally. I never have. And I think that's the problem with where we are now.
Donald Trump.
I feel my mind is stronger now than it was 25 years ago. Is that possible?
Who takes the delegates in New Hampshire? Listen tonight on the drive home and first thing tomorrow to KSL News Radio.
Jeff Kaplan here. Every once in a while I do my show from home, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell. I'm on KSL and sending video to the internet all at the same time because I have Xfinity Wi-Fi. It's pretty amazing because at the same time my wife's streaming a movie, grandkids come over, one's watching YouTube, two are playing Minecraft, and others watching a flick, all while Grandma says, "Shh, Papa's on the air." We run all these devices, and I do a show thanks to my reliable, fast connection. Xfinity Wi-Fi is a game changer. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi on the Xfinity 10G network for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through March 21st, new customers can get started with 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Have you heard about the huge clearance sale at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo? It's time to buy a better machine and get a Bernina. Up to 48 months, no interest on certain models.
Huge January savings on Bernina's special edition 770QE and 570QE CAFE machines that include a free embroidery module and free gifts.
Purchase the L890 Serger and receive a free Bernina Studio cabinet, a $3,250 value. How about $2,400 worth of free gifts when you buy a Bernina B790 Pro model?
A limited supply. These machines won't last.
Dave's Bernina has incredible deals on school machine buybacks during the sale.
Starting at $499, plus super deals on floor models and trade-ins.
From everyday sewing tasks to artistic designs, count on Dave's Bernina. In business since 1960. 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Make a New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Help protect your identity and finances with LifeLock Identity Theft Protection. LifeLock detects identity threats you may miss on your own. And if you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. LifeLock is the New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Save up to 25% off your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go to lifelock.com. Use promo code NEWS to save 25%.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, you'd get advance notice when subscriptions are about to renew under a bill in the Utah legislature. Second, Utah's among the most expensive states in the country when it comes to buying groceries. And third, AI facial recognition identified a robbery suspect in Texas. Only problem, you didn't do it. 39 degrees and cloudy right now in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
So how good was last year's water year, you're wondering? 136% of normal. And it's still helping us today. We're going to get a live update in just a moment from KSL News Radio's Adam Small, who's been tracking the water levels on the Great Salt Lake. I mean, I think we send him out there once a week with a measuring stick. He has been following what last year's historic year in terms of snowpack has helped us, how it's helped us.
Reservoirs around the state are at about 80% capacity. That's more than 20% higher than they normally are this time of year. That means if all goes according to plan, they'll have to start opening their spillways sooner, and all that excess water goes to the Great Salt Lake. Plus, this year we won't have the drought-ridden soil, so more water won't get sucked up in the ground. Great Salt Lake Deputy Commissioner Tim Davis previously told me they're hoping for at least a normal snowpack to get the lake closer to healthy levels.
We're optimistic that we can get there and that there's the will. And just because it's going to take a long time doesn't mean that there's not the commitment.
The lake still needs at least 5.5 feet of water to get there. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
It's been a couple years. 2022, I think, was a wake-up call. In the height of the drought, we've ignored the Great Salt Lake for so long, and I think in part because many of us remember 1984. I remember the pumps. I remember what a big deal it was. We're draining the lake into the West Desert. How hilarious is that right now? And that's, within the last 40 years. The lake was so full, it was flooding homes. Since then, the lake has dropped 8 to 10 feet, and now we're trying to build it back up. So Adam Small joins us. You've been covering this so closely. A lot of things have been passed recently in the legislature where they've focused a lot on the Great Salt Lake. What are some of the strategies that are being pushed right now? And it seems like at least Mother Nature right now is cooperating.
Well, it absolutely is, and it was funny how different the conversations we were having like 3 weeks ago, and we couldn't buy an inch of snow, and then suddenly the floodgates open again. So the good thing is that snow water equivalent, or the amount of water in the current snowpack, is good. Right now, the target is, like I mentioned in my story, it's normal. We want normal or above, because right now the reservoirs are so good that gives us excess room. So a lot of the big things we're pushing right now is always, number one, we had a great water year, but we still need people to conserve water, because when we conserve, even in good years, bad years, it allows our reservoirs to have excess. And when they have excess, we have water we can potentially send to the lake. And number two is potentially releasing reservoir water as much as we safely can right downstream to the Great Salt Lake. It's a direct way to boost the lake.
Has the Great Salt Lake Czar, has he asked other reservoirs to start releasing water? And what does that look like? Because I suppose they're just run by like their their own organizations, like Weber Water District or however that works. But just I don't want you to give us a full lecture on how water resources work because that would be super boring. But just give us a Cliff Notes version.
Right. So reservoirs are managed by water districts. They're the ones that oversee and make the decisions of how that water is released. They obviously take care of the make sure they know what capacity it has. And I did just talk with Tim Davis again, who's the deputy Great Salt Lake Commissioner, just before I came in to talk with you guys. And I'll be covering this more today. They are already in talks with several reservoirs that have ample water capacity to say, hey, we know you aren't forced to do this, but the Great Salt Lake is in dire need of more water still, even though despite how good last year was. How much can you safely release? Now, that's the thing that it's going to take a little bit of time to figure out. But some reservoirs, like I want to say he told me East Canyon was 30% above where it normally is in a given January. So you've got all that excess water where they're asking, hey, can you please figure out if there is a safe amount? Let's send it right to the Great Salt Lake and do it before spring runoff so we give our floodgates, literally, more room if we do get a crazy amount of snow between now and April.
I was going to say, when you're releasing it in the winter time or very early spring, there's really no use for it from farmers. It's not like they're able to store it in any way. So as you were describing this, it truly does. It's like a straight line straight from the reservoirs to the lake.
Yeah, and we saw that last year too, when like you saw how we were at a lower than average reservoir level, and then suddenly we have a record snowpack, and they're filling within like the first month of that snowpack melting off, to the point of, I remember Amy and I last year covered a story where they just opened the spillway on Jordan-L Reservoir, and all that water just goes through Utah Lake, up the Jordan River, right to the Great Salt Lake where we're desperately needed it, and it had a huge impact. I mean, just last year alone, the lake went up 5.5 feet, which is triple to some years of what it normally gets. But now we may not gain that much this year, but right now this is a way we can potentially directly send water right to Great Salt Lake and give it a boost, because we're still 5.5 feet from healthy. Like, this lake still has a long way to go. You look at the satellite images of like Farmington Bay, Bear River Bay, right by where the Wasatch Front population is, all where that toxic dust is coming from. Those areas are still really dry.
I think the only people who might focus more on the Great Salt Lake, other than our very own Adam Small, who's in studio with us, are the protesters. Apparently they're holding vigil or something like that, and more power to them. I mean, they obviously are taking this really extremely seriously. Are these folks just worried that we're going to think, oh, it's Mother Nature has been generous to us in January and hopefully onto February, and so let's just go ahead and open up the faucets and let them run? Are they concerned that we're going to get out of the mindset of conservation?
I wouldn't be surprised, and I really respect them for what they're doing, and it's a reason why I cover these stories as much as I can, because the Great Salt Lake is not a 1, 2, even 3-year fix. I mean, I covered a story last week. This could take 30 years potentially to get Great Salt Lake back to a healthy level, because we are in, climate change obviously plays a big part. And another big thing is we have so many more people along the Wasatch Front than, say, in 1984, when we're having to pump excess water out in the desert. You have all those more people using water. You've got climate change where, like, Mother Nature is a little unpredictable. We don't know how much is going to snow. So,
and Utah wasn't, quite frankly, on the map for a lot of people to move to here in the 1980s the way it is now. And so I think we're not going to slow down when it comes to folks who want to live here.
Exactly. And that's why conservation is, they're still pushing that every year. It's like, hey, we had one great year, but we still have all this ground to still make up. But this is an issue that could take a while for various reasons. So if people let off the gas now, we could be right back at square one. And remember, we're a year and a half removed from a record low. Like, we are not anywhere near out of the game.
I love how you're not just dismissing this. And I know the Great Salt Lake Collaborative has been all over it, which is a collaboration of numerous news reporters, journalists across the state who contribute to the reporting of the Great Salt Lake, and we do it together as a team because it is a resource that we all need. But I love how no one's letting up on their focus when it comes to reporters covering the Great Salt Lake, which is important to continue to message to our listeners and our viewers.
Right. I think the collaborative has had a direct impact on people, because when we created the collaborative back when we were approaching that record low, it gave people this, it passed along the message of, oh, dang, this is a really bad situation. We got to jump in. So it encourages me when I see things like protesters or people gathering, holding vigils on the Great Salt Lake shoreline, up at the Capitol, because it shows that people care. And without that, I personally don't think we could save the lake if people didn't care. And if there's anything I know about Utahns, they care about stuff that matters. And so that's definitely, don't let your foot off the gas. Like I said, this could be a decades-long process, so it's going to take a lot of work.
Adam Small, thank you for joining us.
Fabulous reporting. I appreciate you bringing us up to date on where the lake is at, because we know we've had some great snowstorms the last couple of weeks. Let's keep it going.
One of the strategies, kind of to this point of why we have to keep the foot on the gas, is they need 500,000 to 1 million acre-feet of water annually, and only by 2050 does that get the lake up to 4,200 feet, the elevation feet. So they're looking out 25, 26 years, needing to save 500,000 to 1 million acre-feet of water to make sure that the lake is healthy.
Those numbers absolutely boggle my mind. I have no idea what just came out of your mouth, but it
dang it.
sounds...
I'm sorry.
You sound super smart.
It doesn't help.
No,
it doesn't help when
really
you throw
smart.
out numbers that mean nothing to anybody. Please erase everything that I just said from your mind. That means nothing.
Well, I just want to say you sound really, really smart. All I'm hearing is messages like, we just have to keep conserving.
Charlie Brown, all right.
We have to keep conserving. Speaking of numbers, let's talk about a new trend. It's called, I can't do math anyway, right? But we're going to talk about this new trend. It's called loud budgeting, where you actually discuss your budget goals with your friends and family.
It's not I don't have enough, it's I don't want to spend.
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. We have breaking news. Attorneys for a man awaiting execution in Utah say he is no longer mentally sound enough to understand why he's being put to death. Ralph Menzies' attorneys claim in a new court filing that he has dementia, and that affects his ability to understand what's happening to him, and that would make his execution unconstitutional. Menzies is awaiting the death penalty by firing squad for the murder of Maureen Hunsaker in 1986. He's due in court in February. Classes at a school in Cedar City are still remote after a supposed carbon monoxide leak, but there's still no signs that the gas was present in the school. KSL TV's Shelby Lofton has more.
Parents at Canyon View Middle School are baffled by repeated testing showing the same results. No carbon monoxide, yet their children are sick. Carissa Eaton says her stepson showed symptoms Thursday, the same day a carbon monoxide alarm went off at school.
The Utah National Guard conducted tests at the school. They say a nearby construction area may have had a leak. It wouldn't have been at dangerous or unhealthy levels. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Voting underway today in New Hampshire's presidential primary, with all eyes on the Granite State on the race between former President Trump and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Independent voter Sarah Barley tells ABC News she's backing Haley.
I grew up in New York, in upstate, and he does not have a great reputation. I think he's a total con man, and I'll do anything to make sure he doesn't get voted in.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 160 points. The NASDAQ has slipped into negative territory by about 7 points right now. And our KSL weather, just clouds as far as we can see. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Winter has certainly made a return this year, and your furnace is working hard to keep your home warm and comfortable. It's often something that we take for granted until it stops working. Hello, I'm Brian Jackson with Manuel Plumbing and Heating. For over 100 years, my family has provided the best plumbing and heating experience in our area. I have the best HVAC service and repair technicians around, and we repair all major brands of furnaces. So if you find yourself in the cold this winter, call Manuel Plumbing and Heating. We'd love to help return comfort to your home again. Call 801-262-4671.
Hey folks, it's Doug and Kathy with Window World.
Doug, can you believe it's been 20 years?
What's been 20 years?
Well, since we opened our first Window World store.
That is amazing. Our motto today is the same: quality products, professionally installed, backed up by our awesome warranty.
And our team shares those very same values.
Come see us today. We have stores in Murray and Spanish Fork for your convenience.
Experience the Window World difference. Call 801-281-8111 or visit windowworldutah.com.
And we promise no baloney.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Are you one of those people?
Those people.
You know, self-driven, confident, love sales and understanding marketing. Would you like to work with a variety of businesses, large and small, helping them succeed? Do you want to actually make the kind of money you know you should make? Are you looking for a career with an opportunity to grow?
Well, we're looking for those people.
Bonneville Salt Lake Media Group is looking for account executives from a variety of backgrounds and experience levels to connect with high-potential business opportunities for digital marketing, KSL podcasts, KSL News Radio, 103.5 The Era, FM 100.3, and 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. It's advertising sales that will change your world. Not to mention the world-class list of benefits we're famous for. You'll work in person and remotely in a dynamic team culture with opportunities to reach audiences both locally and globally. If this is the kind of work that interests you, text careers to 57500. That's careers to 57500. Text careers to 57500.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Overall, it's really quiet out there. We do have a couple of crashes, though. The first is in Midvale, northbound I-15 to the I-215 collector ramp off to the right. The second is in downtown Salt Lake at 6 South. It's off to the right at about 450 West. Fed Up Kitchen is Utah's premier healthy meal prep service. Save time, money, and get results with their delicious meals made fresh daily. Right now, save 20% on your first order. Use promo code KSL at fedupkitchen.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Clouds stick around in northern Utah with a few rain and snow showers. More rain and snow could come in Wednesday night and Thursday. And right now, we're at 41 degrees with cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Let's go right on the money.
Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
This is a new TikTok trend, but I really like it, and I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it with my friends and family. I'm going to try it with Dave next time he asks me to go get lunch with him. It's called loud budgeting. And Dave, have you heard of it until today?
No. Brand new term.
So this trend encourages people to be loud and I'll say even proud about your savings goals.
It's not I don't have enough, it's I don't want to spend.
We're doing drinks or dinner, we're not doing both.
Oh, sorry, I can't. I don't want to spend $100 going out to dinner with you when I could put $100 in my high yield savings account.
Yeah.
I've got a high yield savings account that I got to put some money in. That's hilarious. Okay, I've never heard of loud budgeting. This is a brand new term that Debbie just made up, apparently, with her friends on TikTok. I've heard of loud dieting, where you let everybody know, I'm on a diet.
Oh.
Do not offer me that donut.
I have loud lactose intolerance.
Oh, yeah.
Always, people offer me.
You want some ice cream?
I'm like, I'm
don't
lactose
eat
intolerant.
Dairy.
Yeah, no, I just say I'm lactose intolerant, but I don't do this with my financial situation. I either gut it up and go, or I suggest a less expensive place, or I phone in sick.
Sorry, can't make it.
A horrible sore throat that just came on. Do you ever announce your financial situation to your family and friends?
No, I put it on the credit card. I will put it on the credit card before I admit that I can't afford that meal.
So, Dave, listen to this. One TikToker named Lucas Battle, credit where credit's due, right? Says being open about your savings goals doesn't have to be something you're ashamed of. And I appreciate Lucas saying this.
My friend wants to go out to dinner. I'm just gonna text them loud budgeting this month. I think financial transparency with your friends is something that you don't have to be embarrassed about.
There's a stigma. When we're broke, we never admit it.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to admit to our family and friends we're broke. But apparently we can just text our friends, loud budgeting, I'm broke. And they are now supposed to know that we're out. Or we're having dinner at home. You can join me. Just
bring your food.
Bring your own hamburger.
Bring your own burger.
Yeah. I do like this, Dave.
Okay, so this is my concern about it, is when you do announce that you can't afford, to go out or to go to the movies, then I think there's a little bit of a pressure for your friends to pick up the tab.
Oh, okay.
I can absolutely tell you I would feel that pressure. Like, hey, man, money's kind of tight right now. Be like, no, man, I got you.
Okay.
And then I would feel a little bit bad that I'm like, oh, man, I just kind of suckered you into it.
So
I strong-armed you into it with my loud budgeting.
So you're going to make up that you have a bad cough. You have a dry cough. You lost your sense of smell. I can't join you.
It's the credit card.
Oh, I like the honesty. I love the honesty about this. Shane Stewart with DMBA. He's a certified financial planner. Is there a benefit to being more honest and open and transparent about our financial circumstances with our friends and family before we just put it on the credit card?
I think there is. If you're in that situation, it keeps you from making the mistake of spending too much on credit and just defaulting to getting yourself in more debt. There are, as you mentioned, some pitfalls to that, being a little too vocal. It complicates your social situations. And by the way, I want to go to lunch with you today, Dave, just based on that comment.
I'm so hungry, Shane.
I'm in too. I'm in too.
Tab, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But you do. It does complicate the social situations. I do like one of the things that they're saying, that it's not just that I can't go, but I'm not going to go today because I'm putting that money towards a different goal. I have a goal that I'm trying to hit, or I'm putting it into my savings. You have to handle that statement a little carefully as well, because you might have just put a value on your friendship. And so you have to be careful. But you if you're saying I'm not going today because I'm trying to reach this goal of saving, that's a little better than just saying I can't afford it. And it seems a little more socially acceptable as well.
And I think one of the hard things for me to do is to scale back, right? So if my friends are ordering the appetizers, the meal, the dessert, the soda, I sit over and, sometimes we can just scale back and just say, oh, well, you know what, I'm going to go with a side salad or something.
Yeah.
It looks kind of, I don't know, a little peculiar.
Yeah, and it can cause an awkward social situation as well. And so you do have to prepare for what kind of dinner are we going to, and what might this look like socially. But in some cases, it's better to stick to your guns as far as your goals when it comes to budgeting.
Shane Stewart, a certified financial planner, on the line with us live. We're talking about this new concept. It's kind of taking the social media platforms by storm. It's called loud budgeting, where you're more transparent than ever before. Rolling back the stigma and admitting to friends and family that, hey, I can't make it there because I'd rather put this $100 that we're, planning to spend on dinner in my high yield savings account. I don't know if I'd put it that way, but I would say, hey, I can't make it tonight. I've got another financial goal, and I'm trying to, save on dinners out or whatever. But I will say this, Shane, for the first time in the history of running a budget, a household budget, I sat down with an actual budget book. Now, I usually do pen to paper every single month, and so I have an idea of where I'm going. But this budget book is directing every single dime I spend, and then I'm writing every dime I spend in that book as well. And for the first time, I'm sort of quietly loud budgeting in front of my own face every single penny this year.
Yeah.
And I have felt empowered. I feel like I'm in real control of my money, and my money is no longer in control of me. And that's because I'm seeing it in front of my face every single night when I take 10 minutes to, make my notations and put my spending, if I do spend anything, in that book.
Well, and the reason I like this idea of loud budgeting right now is what, like you said, whether it's out loud to myself or out loud to my friends, I'm now addressing it. The biggest problem that we have with folks getting into significant debt and overspending is they ignore it. And so this loud budgeting just brings it out to everybody. And I like what you're doing. If you don't want to bring it out to everybody, bring it out to yourself and have that internal conversation as well, rather than ignore it.
Shane, thank you for joining us. Shane Stewart, DMBA, Certified Financial Planner.
I just say do whatever works. If you have a tight circle of friends and family, the ones that won't turn around and gossip about your financial situation to the other friends and family that they hang out with, be honest with them. I think that's okay. I feel we're entering kind of this new era of maybe not spending so much and being more transparent with our spending habits and what we're trying to get a hold of.
Loud budgeting, think about that with your family. Hey, guys, we're not going to McDonald's today because we're trying to save for this.
Your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking more immediately.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to put the pressures of the family finances on my kids.
Right.
But at the same time, I think there's a way to find that balance.
I love that, Dave, because my kids would say, can we go to McDonald's? And I'm like, Mom is broke. That's what I would say.
Right.
Kids would just not set up a good vision like, oh, no, what's going to happen to us? I would just say, Mom's broke. But I like that. Like, we're actually saving for other goals, like paying off the house or going on a family vacation. And if we drop $20 or $25 here today, then we can't do that tomorrow. That's a great piece of advice. Straight ahead, we just went live to the Texas border in Eagle Pass, Texas, where the Supreme Court of the United States has sided with the Biden administration, allowing them to go into that area. That is, the Texas government has put up razor wire and removed the razor wire. That wire was put up, it's almost 30 miles of wire has been put up to keep migrants out of Texas. The Supreme Court has ruled you can't do that. And so the federal government has been authorized to go in and take that razor wire down. Here's a problem, though. Texas is saying you can't go in. So it appears, in Dave's word, we're in for a showdown.
A Texas standoff.
Between the Border Patrol potentially and Texas authorities. So we're going to put legal analyst Greg Skorda smack dab in the middle of this scenario to get his analysis next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
You're free now. Free to kick back, relax, and stream beyond your wildest dreams.
Rom-coms, slasher comps, space operas, space westerns, cupcake bake-offs on Mars.
Free to fill your feed with impossibly chonky chonkers who chonk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, babies, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things.
Bowl of chips on the robo-vacuum.
And master devices that have no business being smart.
Smart forks, smart toothbrushes, smart tortilla makers.
Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability. Service in select locations only.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try soon. Harry's is available online and in-store at a retailer near you. Get a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/quality. That's harrys.com/quality. Or check us out at your local Costco for a price you can't find anywhere else. Just look for the Chrome Razor with 13 blade refills at your local Costco. You can't miss it. Exclusive to Costco members.
Your favorite local credit union is now your concert BFF. Utah First Credit Union is turning up the volume on life at the newly renamed Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, formerly USANA Amphitheater. Join us for a summer of music, memories, and community togetherness. Utah First, banking that rocks. And concerts aren't the only thing we're amping up. We're also introducing Utah First Personal Checking, your all-in-one boutique banking solution. Have you ever wished your favorite features came standard? Like guac on your burrito, expedited shipping, or in-flight Wi-Fi? Good news! At Utah First Credit Union, we've made all your favorite checking perks our standard, including the best dividends, debit card rewards, loan rebates, and of course, early access to concert tickets at the new Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. That's personal checking, where every feature is standard. Does your bank rock like that? Learn more at utahfirst.com.
Make a New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Help protect your identity and finances with LifeLock Identity Theft Protection. LifeLock detects identity threats you may miss on your own. And if you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. LifeLock is the New Year's resolution that's easy to keep. Save up to 25% off your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock or go to lifelock.com. Use promo code NEWS to save 25%.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, lawyers for a man on Utah's death row say he's no longer competent to understand why he's being put to death. Ralph Menzies was convicted of murder more than 30 years ago. Second, kids are still out of class at a middle school in Cedar City, even though testing shows there's no carbon monoxide in the school. And third, the nation's first presidential primary underway in New Hampshire, with just 2 Republicans left in the race, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. 41 degrees and cloudy right now in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
The Supreme Court justices have ruled 5-4 in favor of overriding a lower court decision that was keeping the Biden administration from removing razor wire. It's about 30 miles long along the Texas border. Now we have a situation where there appears to be a showdown that is about to happen because Texas authorities have said, like, in your face, Supreme Court, in your face, Biden administration, we're not going to let federal agents, Border Patrol agents, anywhere near that razor wire to cut it down. And we just had a live report from the Texas border from Jorge Ventura, who's a reporter for News Nation, Dave. And I just thought, what is going to happen next? So in a moment, we're going to get Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, to weigh in on this.
First of all, can you do that? Can the Supreme Court make a ruling and you just say, no, I disagree? Like, what is going on there? Now, whether you agree with the ruling or not, it's their choice. They get to make that final decision. So I want to know what what is the repercussion if you don't allow it to happen?
Greg, hold the line for just a moment in case our listeners didn't hear that earlier live report from Eagle Pass, Texas, from News Nation's Jorge Ventura. We asked the question, like, what is happening with the migrants who are trying to cross the border if they get caught in that razor wire? Are Texas authorities going in and then rescuing them, much like Border Patrol agents would do if they could have access to that area?
So what we've been seeing is if there's a situation where there's children in that razor wire, well, then Texas officials will get the kids out and get those migrants out of that situation. If it's just, we also been seeing, if it's just adults, they will not come in and help that migrant through that concertina wire. They're actually playing more of that, where they're trying to then block, they'll get riot shields and then block those migrants. I'm sure you guys probably seen some videos and images as well where migrants previously were then climbing on top of the shipping containers that have also been placed on the border and then going over the shipping containers. So now Texas officials have put concertina wire on those shipping containers. So unless there's children or a medical emergency, Texas officials right now are not playing a role of trying to help migrants get over or anything like that.
Greg Skortis is our KSL legal analyst. And Greg, what Jorge Ventura was reporting is that nobody's even allowed in this area from Border Patrol. And Border Patrol is likely those people that are going to, I guess, gather up the concertina wire. Can you do that? Can you just ignore what the Supreme Court says?
Well, no, you obviously can't. And I think it'd be interesting, and maybe Jorge knows the answer to this, to know whether or not the particular piece of land we're talking about is state land or federal land, because that could play into the equation. I mean, obviously, if it's federal land, the state can't just put up a fence. And if it's state land, they may not be beholden to the federal government. I mean, you'd think the feds would trump them every time. But if it's truly a state property, a state park or state land or something like that, that could make a difference into how it's being treated and how it will be treated.
So let's say that, but the Supreme Court ruling is the Supreme Court ruling at this point. They ruled 5 to 4 in favor of the Biden administration, which would allow federal agents to go in and start cutting down that razor wire. What happens if, at the end of the day, Governor Abbott says, "Nope, we're not going to allow federal agents to that wire," and they stand their ground against federal agents? I mean, does the Supreme Court step back in? Is Abbott held in contempt of the United States Supreme Court? What happens from there?
Both of those things, Debbie. I mean, I think the Supreme Court is going to step in and say, wait a minute, we made a ruling, we made a decision here, and you're supposed to abide by it. And if you don't, and if you continue not to, you're going to be held in contempt of court. And contempt of the Supreme Court of the United States could very well include some level of incarceration, certainly fines or something like that. I think Abbott's making more of a stand, a figurative stand, I should say, and trying to appease his constituents. But I think at the end of the day, he's almost certainly going to have to cave and do what the United States Supreme Court has ordered him to do.
You touched on something I think that is very important, is the possible difference between federal lands and state lands. What kind of, I guess, power over the state or state lands does the federal government have?
Very little. And they may say that they do in terms of mineral rights or drilling or that type of a thing. But generally, I mean, you have private property, you have state property, you have federal property. And we don't often consider one of those entities to be able to tell another what to do with their property. I mean, in America, we have property rights are very important to us. They're critical to us, and we hold those very, very sacredly. So I think that, I mean, maybe legal experts will disagree with me, but in my opinion, that distinction would be important in determining who ultimately decides what can be done on a certain piece of property.
Your take on this, so Greg, is that this will be resolved peacefully, I would hope?
Oh, yes. I mean, it doesn't do Abbott any good to make a stand and to have federal troops come in and state troops on the other side. I mean, that's not going to happen. That would be the worst possible thing for everyone, Debbie. There's got to be some resolution here, and my guess is that'll happen probably sooner rather than later.
And my guess, too, is that there's probably negotiations going on behind the social media posts that say, we're just going to stand our ground here. I would imagine that there are negotiations going on with his attorneys or the Attorney General of the state of Texas and the Department of Justice or Homeland Security.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that can even be avoided. And those could be contentious, and I'm certain that they are at this point because now it's become public. People are keeping an eye on it, and people are going to say who backs down first, who's going to blink first. That's going to be an interesting question. I think that there's going to be some level of compromise. There has to be in a case like this.
Greg, you've brought a fascinating new wrinkle to this entire conversation. I hadn't really thought about this. I just thought the Supreme Court trumps all no matter what, but you brought up a very, very interesting aspect. If this is state land versus federal land, private property, that adds a whole nother layer to this that we're going to have to look into. Greg Skordas, as always, thank you.
Straight ahead, we're going to get Boyd Matheson of Inside Sources on the show with us as he joins us once again at 11:05 this morning to talk about the New Hampshire primary. Voting is open right now. Nikki Haley hoping to turn things around after the Iowa caucus. We'll get Boyd's take and the latest on what's going on in New Hampshire in the 11 o'clock hour.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news. Attorneys for Ralph Menzies said it's been so long since he was convicted and sentenced to death that he no longer understands the reason for his execution. Their new court filing says Menzies is suffering from dementia. That could make putting him to death in Utah unconstitutional. He was found guilty of murdering Maureen Hunsaker back in 1986. A storage unit fire in Harrisville was sparked after somebody tossed a lit cigarette into one of the units. Fire Chief Chris Maxfield tells KSL-TV those storage units pose a dangerous challenge.
Again, we always encourage everybody to clear the fire hydrants 3 feet around in all directions to make sure that we can, number one, that we can find them, and number two, we can access them when we need to.
Storage units are often full of flammable material, and units are often packed closely together. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. There's a new warning for owners of a popular SUV. ABC's Mike Dubusky has more.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has fielded hundreds of complaints about the Honda HR-V, claiming the compact crossover's rear window can unexpectedly shatter. Consumer Reports, which had the problem happen to their own test vehicle, says Honda told them it has to do with how the defroster interacts with the rear window seal. The company says it's planning a voluntary product update campaign to replace the windows starting in April. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Honda also recommends owners who experience the issue call their dealer or Honda's customer service. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 145 points, while the NASDAQ is up 25. And our KSL weather, the clouds linger, and there could be a shower or two, especially tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
IVC, Interventional Vascular and Vein Center, is having a New Year, New Leg special event on Saturday, January 27th. This will be a free screening for varicose veins at their office in Provo. Don't let leg pain slow you down in 2024. Why wait? Now is the time to kick off the new year with new legs. Come and learn why starting at the beginning of the year is ideal to get you ready for spring. IVC has been in business for over 20 years and has been voted the best vein center of Utah Valley for 10 years running. IVC's doctors, advanced practice providers, and sonographers will be on hand to answer your questions. So come see them Saturday, January 27th for a free varicose vein screening. Space is limited, so please RSVP right now. Visit ivein.com. That's the letter I, VEIN.com to schedule your New Year, New Legs free screening at IVC. Because life starts when the pain stops.
They say it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. You may not have that kind of time for weatherization, energy efficiency, and appliance rebates, but we do. Dominion Energy's ThermWise program has experts who know where and how to save money. They help homeowners and businesses find simple ways to conserve natural gas and rebates through upgrades that may help to save even more. We put our energy into helping you conserve it, so you can spend your 10,000 hours becoming an expert in what matters to you. Start with a home energy plan at thermwise.com.
As the new year begins, you and your credit card might be ready for a quiet break. Experience the relief of a low rate with the Mountain America credit card. With a 3% cash bonus on balance transfers, it's more relaxing than ever. Open a Mountain America credit card today for your limited time bonus. Details at macu.com/transfer. Loans and approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Have you heard about the huge clearance sale at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo? It's time to buy a better machine and get a Bernina. Up to 48 months, no interest on certain models.
Huge January savings on Bernina's Special Edition 770QE and 570QE CAFE machines that include a free embroidery module and free gifts.
Purchase the L890 Serger and receive a free Bernina Studio cabinet, a $3,250 value. How about $2,400 worth of free gifts when you buy a Bernina B790 Pro model?
A limited supply. These machines won't last.
Dave's Bernina has incredible deals on school machine buybacks during the sale.
Starting at $499, plus super deals on floor models and trade-ins.
From everyday sewing tasks to artistic designs, count on Dave's Bernina. In business since 1960, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Valley Freeway traffic looking good. No problems there. We're in the final cleanup stages of a small accident exiting from I-15 at 6 South. This is about 4th West. All vehicles are over to the right shoulder. Transform your outdated kitchen with half-priced granite. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite starting at $25 per square foot installed. Visit halfpricegranite.com. Affordable luxury. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Clouds stick around in northern Utah with a few rain and snow showers. More rain and snow could come in Wednesday night and Thursday. Right now, we're at 41 degrees with showers in the neighborhood. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Well, we know that Nikki Haley has been counting on New Hampshire for quite a while. And for a hot minute there, the polls showed her closing in on former President Donald Trump. But, you know, even before the Iowa caucus, she was definitely leaning on New Hampshire.
I trust every single one of you. You know how to do this. You know Iowa starts it. You know that you correct it. You know that you continue to go. And then my sweet state of South Carolina brings it home. That's what we do. That's what we do.
She doesn't need a correction. She needs a U-turn because Iowa sent a very, very strong message that Donald Trump, 32-point win. That's a U-turn. That's a U-turn, Nikki.
Although, let's remember, Iowa has not correctly predicted the Republican nominee since George Bush, 2000. So they are a quarter of a century of swing and a miss in terms of the precedent Iowa has been setting. And that's what Nikki Haley is actually counting on. So she was joking in New Hampshire that New Hampshire corrects it, but she's actually correct. New Hampshire has corrected it on the Republican side, that Iowa has gotten it wrong for 25 years. And so it'll be interesting to see if that actually happens once again, or if it's one of those rare moments where you get someone winning Iowa and New Hampshire. That's usually the double play there that sends things to a pretty quick finish.
Any sense yet this morning, Boyd, from your camp and your folks and your inside sources of how things are shaping up so far for Haley and Trump?
Yes, we have
New
the very
Hampshire?
earliest of polling data because those in
Okay,
Dixville, Knox cast their vote at 12:01 a.m. They are the first primary voters in the nation. Because remember, Iowa's a caucus. So they take great pride that New Hampshire is the first primary
This
state.
sounds like a Puxatawny
No,
Phil moment.
it's almost Puxatawny Phil, but it's better because it's Dixville Knox. And 6 votes were cast at 12:01. 4 Republicans, 2 independents. All 6 went to Nikki Haley. So
it's going to be a landslide.
So as of 12:01 this morning, Nikki Haley had a landslide lead in Dixville.
And there
Knox.
was 100% turnout.
100. Well, that's it. That's all
Yeah,
there is.
right. I'm just pointing that out. 100% turnout because probably more than 6 people
Yeah.
live there, but 6 voters.
6
live
people
in.
cast votes,
Wow.
and there you go. And that is. We kind of laugh about it, but that's so Americana.
It is so cool.
I love it that they want to be the very first in the country to cast a primary vote. So they're there.
It is why we make a big deal
12:01.
out about a groundhog every single year,
Exactly.
because there has to be some sort of gee whiz moment
Yeah.
and all of the craziness. And I thought that was pretty cool too this morning.
And the most important thing that Nikki Haley takes away from that is that out of the 6 votes, 2 of them were independent voters, non-registered.
that is,
and that's going to be the key to her day today.
Yeah.
So as you watch the numbers throughout the course of the day and into the evening tonight, the question will be how many of those independent voters who can vote in the Republican primary actually show up and cast a vote for Nikki Haley today. There's also about 4,000 Democrats in New Hampshire who switched their affiliation. There was a deadline back in November. About 4,000 of them made a change. And so how many of those 4,000 will show up today and cast a vote for Nikki Haley?
Was there anything in Nikki Haley's messaging that you could pinpoint where she's trying to reach out to those moderates, the movables?
Yeah, she's very much focused on a general election campaign. It's very similar to what John McCain did there in New Hampshire. That was a real turning point for his becoming the nominee in 2008. And he went after, remember, he had the Straight Talk Express, very New Hampshire-esque, that we're just going to give it to you straight, not Republican or Democrat. We're going to tell you the truth. And so she's tried to kind of channel her inner John McCain, I think, in terms of getting to those New Hampshire voters.
Boyd, what does she need to do to stay in the race? And I guess what I mean by that is how does she need to fare starting, by tonight when we start getting some results, to stay in this race as, a race for the White House, not a race for VP?
Yeah, I don't think she's in the race for VP.
You don't think so?
I don't think so at all. I don't think that's in the cards in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that's why she's in this race, and I think that's why she will stay in the race at minimum through Super Tuesday. So regardless of what the results are today, that Nikki Haley campaign is barnstorming their way to South Carolina. You'll have an Idaho caucus and Nevada, really weird, half caucus, half primary vote. And then you'll march your way through South Carolina and then on to Super Tuesday. And so she's already talking about places like Michigan. She's talking about places like Utah. Her campaign is very focused on moving that forward. They believe the longer they stay in the race, the more the dynamics start to shift. You'll see more things that the former president's going to have to deal with legally. I think the more it's a 2-person race, the more people start to say, oh, there is a choice, and I think they're banking on that. I think it would be ideal for the Haley campaign if they're in single digits or better. If it's anywhere under 10, that's a good day. And you have to remember, in November, Nikki Haley was polling in New Hampshire at about 3%. 3%. So to go from 3% up into the high 30s or 40s, that's no small thing. So they're going to bank on that. They're going to channel their inner Bill Clinton on that and say, "Come back, kid." Got second. And so they'll kind of channel that component to it. But that's a huge jump to go from single digits up into the 30s or 40s. And so they can claim momentum without claiming a victory tonight. And that will be their message, and then moving on to those other states. But they will stay in because I don't think she's interested in being the vice president.
I'm actually glad to hear you say that, because earlier today we were talking about what so many news organizations have been writing about is that, what about her as a number two, which makes me think perhaps you can stomach Donald Trump for a second term if you've got a side of Haley in the number two spot. It just tends to go down a little bit easier maybe if she could level him out to some degree. And her popularity, in terms of in polling, when you talk about a head-to-head with Biden, it's just been pretty astounding if she were to be able to secure that spot. But the idea that you feel like there's a chance, you're saying there's a chance, really gives us, I think, hope that perhaps Donald Trump, will continue to have to really fight for that spot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that continues to play. I think Donald Trump's already determined who his vice president will be. I think the odds are probably 75 plus that it will be Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota, or someone in that space. I think that's kind of where he's leaning. I do not think he will turn and tap a Nikki Haley. I don't see that dynamic playing, nor do I think she's interested in playing that number two role.
Is there too much bad blood?
I just think there's a very stark difference in terms of how that office should be done and what that actually means. And I don't think that the former president, he thought he had the right person in Mike Pence, that he could move and cajole, and didn't think he had a strong enough core. And January 6th proved him wrong on that. And so he's going to have someone who is a clear number two, who needs that job, who wants that job, who is satisfied and content to be in that job. And I don't think Nikki Haley is satisfied or content to be in that role.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. We'll look forward. And as soon as New Hampshire's done, we'll move on to South Carolina. That'll be the next step. Boyd, thanks. Inside Sources today, 1 o'clock.
Next, we're going to have Allie Isom on. She once put up a good fight to get the Senate seat away from Mike Lee. Lost that race, but is in it on behalf of Nikki Haley. So let's talk to her about what she feels like the governor's, former UN ambassador's odds are in New Hampshire today.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
And then there were two.
Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
New Hampshire votes tonight, and there are just two Republicans left. Nikki Haley.
I don't take politics personally. I never have, and I think that's the problem with where we are now.
Donald Trump.
I feel my mind is stronger now than it was 25 years ago. Is that possible?
Who takes the delegates in New Hampshire? Listen tonight on the drive home and first thing tomorrow to KSL News Radio.
I posed for so many pictures during the holiday season in front of the Christmas tree, with the kids, at family parties. And you know what was the greatest thing about this year's Christmas pictures? For the first time, I didn't have to do the, hold the belly in. Because I've lost almost 60 pounds with SOTA weight loss. That's SOTA, stands for state of the art. Yeah, for years and years it was, okay, take the picture so I can let my breath out. But this year I didn't have to do that, and it was such a great feeling. And I want you to enjoy that exact same feeling that I have. And so let me tell you how you can do it for free. You could win a full year of SOTA's amazing program and a $2,000 wardrobe makeover in SOTA's Shape Up Showdown. To enter, all you got to do is email shapeup@sotaweightloss.com. That's shapeup@sotaweightloss.com. It's as simple as that. So get on the road to success in 2024 with SOTA Weight Loss. SOTA Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults.
Nothing is everything.
Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
This Monday Tax Tip is brought to you by Susan Spears, CEO of the Utah Association of CPAs.
You can claim the child tax credit for each qualifying child with a valid Social Security number if the dependent is under 17 at the end of the year, earns less than 50% of their support, has lived with you for more than half the year, is a U.S. citizen, is properly claimed as a dependent on your tax return, are not filing a joint return with their spouse, or passes the relationship test. Talk to your CPA on that one. You may claim the child tax credit if you meet the eligibility factors and your income falls within threshold limits. Your CPA can help you determine if you are eligible for partial child tax credit.
Get the most out of your income tax preparation when you hire a CPA. Go to uacpa.org to find a CPA that's right for you. That's uacpa.org. Listen to KSL on Monday for more tax tips from the Utah Association of CPAs.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try soon. Harry's is available online and in-store at a retailer near you. Get a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/quality. That's harrys.com/quality. Or check us out at your local Costco for a price you can't find anywhere else. Just look for the Chrome Razor with 13 blade refills at your local Costco. You can't miss it. Exclusive to Costco members.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, firefighters say it's tough to fight fires in storage units because they're all full of stuff. Second, lawyers for a Utah death row inmate say it's been so long since he was sentenced that he no longer understands why he might be executed. And third, one of Honda's new SUV models has a back window that can shatter unexpectedly. The HRVs have been recalled. Right now, 41 degrees with showers in the neighborhood in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic. America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
It's New Hampshire. Today's really the day. It is a big test for the only female in the race for the White House. That's Nikki Haley. She did not do as well as I think she probably had hoped in Iowa. Hoping to turn things around in New Hampshire.
You know how to do this. You know Iowa starts it. You know that you correct it.
They're voting until 6 o'clock our time tonight, which is great news for you because that means on your drive home this afternoon, Jeff Kaplan will have all of the latest information from New Hampshire.
Haley came in a close third, I guess not close to number one, but she came in third place behind DeSantis and Trump in Iowa, lost by 31, 32 points. So this is crucial, I think. And all the polls have shown of all the states right now, New Hampshire is where Nikki Haley is doing best. But if she loses, as she is expected to lose, and then she goes to her home state of South Carolina and loses, where she's expected to lose, then how is there still life in this campaign?
Ali Isom, former candidate for U.S. Senate, well, she got the support and the endorsement of the First Lady of Utah and also the Lieutenant Governor of Utah. Did she get your endorsement too?
Yes, she absolutely did. Participating on her leadership team, there are 10 of us that are state political leaders and business leaders and, notable Utahns who feel strongly that she's the most qualified candidate in the race right now. So we're excited. Momentum is everything. You know, as I hear you talk about Iowa, keep in mind how far from behind she has come and how far is yet to go. Momentum in politics is absolutely everything, and she has momentum. That's promising. This race is so far from over. We're just getting started. In fact, last night we just had an organizational meeting for a potential visit. Nikki Haley may be coming to the state. We just want to have volunteers ready to go. So, you know, we have 60 fantastic Utahns who joined us last night, and you know, we're just getting organized in the state. So the story is just happening, and a lot has yet to be determined.
That's a great point. I think so often it's very easy to look at the result versus the trajectory. And I think especially when you're speaking about Nikki Haley, the last several months, the last couple of months specifically, has changed the trajectory. And I think in part because she has such an expertise in international affairs. And we have seen so much happening on the international front, whether it's in Israel or Ukraine. I think she has truly shined, and it's very easy for people to look at her and say, oh, that's very presidential. The way she speaks, the way her knowledge and expertise really plays well into those international affairs.
Absolutely. Her demeanor speaks well, not just her foreign experience at this time when we have such tremendous international unrest and uncertainty, but her domestic policies and her behavior as governor in times of natural disaster and crisis, when she not only was compassionate but decisive and got things done. And, you know, that speaks well to me of the kind of leadership our country needs right now. We need certainty and a steady hand and principles that we can count on. And, you know, I'll just remind you, I know the campaign keeps saying America doesn't do coronations. You know, we hold elections, we believe in democracy. And this process, it matters so much. We have to realize we lose as Americans if we shortchange this process and the dialogue. And that words matter, the narrative matters, and we have to challenge the motives behind the words. And those who gain by saying this race is over and decided, those are the ones who feel threatened right now. That's Trump and Biden, and they're attacking her because they know she is gaining momentum. You know, I know. You mentioned Iowa. Let's be clear about Iowa. Not just momentum that she gained there, but Donald Trump won 56,000 votes out of 3 million voters in Iowa. He got less than 1.5% of the vote in one state. And I refuse to say that's representative of our nation.
Bingo.
We all deserve to have this conversation.
Allie Isom, former candidate for United States Senate here in Utah, supporting Nikki Haley, on the line with us right now on this first primary of the race in New Hampshire, and talking about what Nikki Haley needs to do and will continue to do as her campaign moves forward. And you brought up the 56,000 votes that Trump got in Iowa. It's great context, Allie. It's important context. I look at the number of like unaffiliated or independent voters, undeclared voters is what they call them in New Hampshire. And it's well over 300,000 to be exact, according to the New Hampshire Secretary of State's website I'm looking at right now. As of the end of December, it was 343,000 who are undeclared, which is more than the Democratic Party has registered and the Republican Party has registered. So there is a huge section, as Boyd Matheson would say, of the movable middle there that are undeclared. And if Haley can pick up a good chunk of those voters today, obviously that does her very well.
Yeah, they're predicting turnout that surpasses 2016. I'd heard in 2016, 281,000 people showed up to vote. And today, the Secretary of State that you just referred to, predicting 300,000 plus turnout today. So it'll be interesting. I'm so puzzled by all the reliance we're putting on polls when the polls themselves didn't even show that Donald Trump was tracking as well as he was, in his original election. And so I sort of giggle that people use polls when it's to their advantage and their narrative. And right now, I'm just counting on Americans and the character of true Americans to show up, and they understand this country's in crisis, and our future deserves real leadership. And I'm really hoping and honestly praying that good humans show up at the polls today in New Hampshire.
Does it surprise you how nice she has played in regards to talking about Donald Trump? There's been 5 different debates, and she's not gone after the former president in a certainly not in a vicious way or even a very hard way.
You know, I would say she's gone after him in the ways that matter, in the matter of fact, in the matter of whether he's there, in the matter of his opinions. She's not personally attacked him, and isn't that a breath of fresh air? Isn't that exactly what we need in this country right now? Is that kind of leader who won't diminish the dialogue down to personal attacks, but stays focused on the policy and the issues at hand? I mean, I'm all for it.
It is. It does. It's unique in how rare that is, and we will continue to follow this. Allie Isom, thank you for joining us, former candidate here for the United States Senate, but again, supporting Nikki Haley in her run for the presidency.
Sounds like they're shaping up to plan a visit for a former UN ambassador to Utah in the coming weeks. We'll keep you posted on that, and that she's not giving up based on the fact that President Trump, I think Allie rightfully pointed out, President Trump got 56,000 votes in Iowa, and yet here we are like, oh, it's over for Haley. That's really unfair. That's really unfair. Let the process play out. Let's let the process vet out, and let's stop trying to predict winners and losers based on, less than 100,000 people, less than 75,000 people who voted in this nation. It's just unfair.
I'm not sure. I get you got to be in it for the long game. If you really think you have a path forward, she criticized a little bit the polls, but quite honestly, the polls in Iowa proved to be almost exactly right to what happened. Now, is it representative? Perhaps not, but the polls were fairly accurate in Iowa, and in fact, the polls probably underestimated how well Trump would do in Iowa. He did very well, beat DeSantis and Haley by 32 points.
We will have full coverage all day long. Boyd Matheson at 1 o'clock, Maria up at noon, Boyd at 1, and Jeff Kaplan this afternoon. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, first thing with Tim and Amanda. Next, a Senate committee on Utah's Capitol Hill voting 5-3 in favor of a bill spelling out who can use men's and women's public bathrooms in the state of Utah. We're going to get a live update in just a matter of minutes from our very own Hugo Ricard Bell, who has been tracking the developments on this story.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utah's strong reservoir levels could set up the Great Salt Lake for another much-needed boost this year. Reservoirs around the state are about 80% full, more than 20% above where they normally would be this time of year. If we get a healthy snowpack, they'll likely open spillways sooner, send more water downstream to the Great Salt Lake. Great Salt Lake Deputy Commissioner Tim Davis says they're hoping Mother Nature will help get the lake another step closer.
We're optimistic that we can get there and that there's the will. And just because it's going to take a long time doesn't mean that there's not the commitment.
The lake, though, is still 5.5 feet below what would be considered a healthy level. The state is asking for volunteers to help count the number of people experiencing homelessness in Utah. The information helps state leaders get a better understanding of how people are experiencing that and better distribute money for services. For details on signing up as a volunteer, you can visit our website, kslnewsradio.com. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Another scare for Taylor Swift, an alleged stalker who was arrested twice near her New York City home. ABC's Derek Dennis reports.
Witnesses, including Swift security, flagging down police, pointing out an emotionally disturbed man harassing passersby. He's identified as 33-year-old David Crow of Seattle, and his arrest followed another incident Saturday where he was seen trying to open a door to Swift's townhouse and placed under arrest.
Swift was not home at the time. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 146 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up about 17. And our KSL weather, we'll see some showers. We'll see a lot of clouds over the next couple of days. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Manchester Electrical is a company here in Utah that has done so much to kind of help you through the process of receiving a bid, getting some work done without ruining your life.
They have.
Because that's sometimes how bids go. You're like, I thought I was paying this, and now what do you say?
I love Master Electrical's upfront pricing. We had lunch just the other day, Dave and I did, with one of the owners, and they are full on, all in on upfront pricing. And what this means is that when they come to your house and they give you a bid, they want to make your life better. They want to improve your life. They want to fix your electrical problems. And then whatever they bid upfront is the price you pay at the end.
Yeah, some companies will come in, they'll give you an hourly bid. They're like, oh, I can knock that out in an hour. This is what it's going to cost you. But then once they get into it, it takes longer than expected. And then the invoice is something different than the bid. Well, with Master Electrical, they have an upfront pricing guarantee. What they bid you is what it will cost.
Hey, if you need to look at a new generator, if you need a new smoke detector, if those ceiling fans just aren't working and you know summer is coming and you got to get them working, to get that checked off that honey-do list, your goals for 2024 is get these electrical problems taken care of. 801-543-2222. 801-543-2222.
From Logan to Santaquin, check him out online at masterelectrical.com.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and we all loved and grew up with the game. Now you're going to love the show. It's on the stage at Hale Center Theater right now, and it's called Clue. It is so funny, so clever, and I've got to tell you this. I love plays that include slow motion scenes, I'm not kidding you, and even rewind scenes. And if you're looking for the best death scene ever witnessed on the stage, it's waiting for you right now at Hale Center Theater in Clue. But there's so much more coming up in the 2024 season, and that includes Fiddler on the Roof, that's coming up next, Sound of Music, May We All, a country musical, The Time Machine, The Nutty Professor, Aladdin, The Magician's Elephant, and Beauty and the Beast. It's going to be a great season at Hale Center Theater. Go to hct.org to get your season tickets, individual tickets, and of course, gift cards.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
We have a nice drive on the Valley freeways with traffic rolling along. In Parley's Canyon, it was a stalled vehicle westbound I-80 near Immigration Canyon. Moved to the right shoulder. Looks like they may have been able to get that taken care of. And a surface street crash to watch out for. 3rd West between 1100 and 1200 South. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Clouds stick around in northern Utah with a few rain and snow showers. Then more rain and snow could come in Wednesday night and into Thursday. Right now, 43 degrees and cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We're going to go up to Capitol Hill right now and talk about probably one of the most debated and controversial pieces of legislation so far this session on the Hill. And right now it looks like a Senate committee has voted 5-3 in favor of a bill, legislation that spells out who can use men's and women's public bathrooms. So it would require everyone to use the bathroom with the gender that matches their birth certificate.
And you're not going to need your birth certificate to prove anything. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Hugo Ricard-Bell spoke with Representative Kira Birkeland, and this is a great opportunity for us to hear from both sides. We're going to hear from Equality Utah and the Utah representative that worked on this. So Kira Birkeland explained the reasoning behind the bill and also that she's looking at making changes.
If you are hanging out in the women's bathroom as just a man, and someone says, what are you doing in here? Do you need any help? You need to get out. They can say, no, I have every right to be here based on my identity. Or they don't even have to say, they just say, I have every right to be here. And then when law enforcement comes, and we've had this happen in Salt Lake, they say, I identify this way. And law enforcement says, did he do anything? Did he harm anyone? Okay, well then, sir, you're just going to have to leave now. There was just so many loopholes that were not covered under our current laws.
Something that comes to mind is like when I was a child, my mum would sometimes take me into the women's bathroom because she didn't want to send me into the men's alone, or my dad would do that with my sisters. How are you going to tackle those sort of concerns?
So there will be a substitute that we're drafting right now, and it will ensure that if I have a 20-year-old son with a disability, that my son will join me in the women's facility. I understand he's 20, but then as the responsible adult parent, I can say he has a disability, he cannot go into the men's bathroom by himself, so he's here with me, and I can ensure that his behavior is appropriate. Same scenario will be for a man who maybe has his 5-year-old daughter. We don't want the man to go into the women's facility because his daughter's a girl. We want to make sure that that 5-year-old is able to go with her dad into the men's facility. And so that draft is already being worked on and will be a substitution to be presented before the full Senate.
That was Representative Kira Birkeland. She's the one sponsoring this legislation. As of right now, we do know that it has passed a Utah Senate committee in a 5-3 vote.
So the other side of the story is the concerns being voiced by the transgender community about this bill. Hugo Ricard-Bell again spoke with Sue Robbins from Equality Utah.
So when you start to define us in law, both by what is male and female and by the transitions that we do, then you start to harm us because of someone else's behavior. And this bill does try and define a transgender individual when we were actually very diverse in who we are and how we transition. So it misses the mark on covering a large majority of transgender individuals who have fully transitioned. So there's two particular items that they say is a person who is fully transitioned. One is changing your birth certificate, which last year the law was changed around that to say that a Utah birth certificate will show that it's amended. So everybody before that doesn't have that type of birth certificate. And then the other thing is having full primary sex characteristic surgery. Not a secondary characteristic, but the primary. So there are a lot in our community that don't have that surgery due to access, due to finances, due to availability, or even due to desire, because not everybody wants it. So that one requirement already takes us down to 10% of less of the community. Birth certificates are something that's done by every single state. So it can be different depending on the state you were born in, or actually if you're international, it may be done differently in your country, or you may not even have it because you immigrated to the country, became a citizen, and still don't have a birth certificate from your originating country where you were born. So there's so many variables here when we start to identify someone by their birth certificate that it becomes unmanageable.
We heard a lot of public comment, 45 minutes plus of it, 73 odd individuals. We heard from a lot of mothers and even some fathers who said that they were scared for their own children. And there was that constant theme of fear. Do you understand where that fear is coming from, and how would you remedy that fear if you were sitting in front of one of those parents?
I do understand where parents have fear for their children. We all want to protect our children. What is happening with these run of bills and our divided United States, where we have a lot of rhetoric that drives narratives that aren't true, is the transgender community's been set up as predators in restrooms. And if we think about this happened to the gay community decades ago, and this even happened to communities of color before that we needed to push everybody out and have a separate but not equal situation to have our own security. So to those parents, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. I have 4 kids of my own, 10 grandkids, and I want them to be safe. But a narrative has been driven that transgender individuals are going to cause harm in the bathroom. And the fact is we just want to pee like everyone else, and we get a little anxious going in because we wonder who's going to accost us and challenge us if they have any perception at all that we're transgender.
Next, our very own Hugo Ricard-Bell, who's been covering the developments on this story. It's HB 257. It would require everyone to use the bathroom with the gender that matches their birth certificate. This is a Utah-specific piece of legislation. Hugo's going to break it down for us more in about 3 minutes.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Jeff Kaplan here. Every once in a while, I do my show from home, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell. I'm on KSL and sending video to the internet all at the same time because I have Xfinity Wi-Fi. It's pretty amazing because at the same time, my wife's streaming a movie, grandkids come over, one's watching YouTube, 2 are playing Minecraft, and others watching a flick, all while Grandma says, "Shh, Papa's on the air." We run all these devices, and I do a show thanks to my reliable, fast connection. Xfinity Wi-Fi is a game changer. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi on the Xfinity 10G network for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through March 21st, new customers can get started with 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to Internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Hi, this is Congressman John Curtis. As I'm sure you've heard, I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I'd like to invite you to my campaign kickoff this Tuesday, January 23rd, 7 p.m. in Woods Cross. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. Join me to celebrate our early momentum across the state and see why I'm feeling so optimistic about the race. I hope you'll come say hi Tuesday evening, share the excitement, and be part of this journey. We'll have refreshments, engaging conversations, and great company. This Tuesday, January 23rd, 7 p.m. in Woods Cross. You can find the address at johncurtis.org. You can RSVP and get event details at johncurtis.org. I look forward to serving you in the U.S. Senate, and as your senator, I'll keep getting things done for Utah. See you Tuesday. I'm John Curtis, and I approve this message, paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The Diverse-Owned Business Accelerator, hosted by the Salt Lake Chamber and Women's Business Center of Utah, is currently accepting applications for the spring 2024 cohort. Program facilitator and entrepreneur Camilla Johnson joins us with more.
When I first started my own business, I realized firsthand how difficult the entrepreneurial learning process could be. Luckily, I had resources to guide me, including the Women's Business Center of Utah. That's why WBC Utah and the Salt Lake Chamber launched the Diverse-Owned Business Accelerator program to ensure that every small business owner, regardless of gender, race, or background, has access to vital business resources. By joining our 4-week cohort, entrepreneurs and business owners of all backgrounds can learn essential skills such as establishing a business strategy roadmap, constructing a brand style guide, and clarifying revenue streams. We also provide a personalized peer-to-peer environment that acknowledges every individual business's unique needs. Plus, thanks to the support from Bank of America and Say Money Family Foundation, this $5,000 program is completely free. Don't miss the opportunity to grow your business with us.
For small business owners, the Diverse-Owned Business Accelerator is your ticket to a more successful strategic business. Learn more and apply at the Chamber website by March 1st. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, saving the Great Salt Lake might need a new approach to releasing water from upstream reservoirs. Second, more volunteers needed for an accurate count of Utahns experiencing homelessness this weekend. And third, Taylor Swift's security team had to deal with a guy banging on her door at her home in New York City. Right now, 43 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We're going to return back to our Eye on the Hill coverage with Hugo Ricard Bell, who's been covering this story about House Bill 257, which would require everyone in Utah to use the bathroom with the gender that matches their birth certificate. When we last left off, we were hearing from Equality Utah, which has some concerns about this piece of legislation. One of those concerns is, how do you prove what their birth certificate says? There's so many birth certificates from all over the world. So that to them was, they listed as one of the concerns.
As well as there are many different levels of transitioning. But the one that I think is most concerning, putting words into their mouth, or Sue's mouth, is that she's concerned that transgender individuals are being labeled as predators in the restroom.
Let's get Kara Birkeland, a representative who's sponsoring this legislation. Let's get her response to Equality Utah's concern, which Dave and I just laid out.
Currently, people are already trying to make assumptions about people's identity and whether they belong somewhere or not. And more importantly, there's nothing in the law right now to clarify anyone's individual right to a space. This law will actually help define their right to be in certain spaces and their right to be there even if they haven't done anything that was improper within that space. So I think it actually gives more clarity and gives more help to people of all backgrounds and types.
How did you come to the conclusion in your bill that would basically determine if someone is trans or not? I think some of the language was like post-op and that sort of thing, because a lot of trans people, my understanding is they don't go the whole hog and get the operation.
So in talking to a lot of women who were victims, even some inmates, the whole point is women's risks, right? And if someone has had bottom surgery, their risk to others is gone. No one's concerned. No one's even, and I think it leads to the fact that no one's really concerned about a transgender person, but we don't know how to identify a transgender person, right? We don't. And so this just gives at least an ability for someone to say, hey, this is this is me, this is a transgender individual, they have every right to be here, as opposed to someone who we really can't tell if they are just questioning, if they're just being a bad actor, or what's going on in their life. This was just, at some point, you have to draw a line in the sand.
If we're being realistic, there are a lot of Utahns who find this issue in particular very confronting, and they're outspoken about it. I'm wondering, how are you going to make sure that trans people aren't just pointed out because someone's uncomfortable in, say, southern Utah or like a rural part, not just in downtown Salt Lake?
So that's why it was very important to me but we kept in the provision that says if you continually make false accusations, if you're harassing someone by making claims that they don't belong there and they belong there and they haven't done anything wrong there, then you, as the person confronting and creating the problem, can be charged with a misdemeanor. We don't want vigilantes out there. And if they become one, they're the ones that get the misdemeanor. And I think that's a fair balance that is often overlooked.
Hugo Ricard-Bell conducted both these interviews with Representative Kira Birkeland and also Sue Robbins from Equality Utah. And Hugo, I appreciate you reaching out to both sides and getting the back and forth of the two concerns. Was there a situation or an example that Representative Birkeland was able to point to that proved that this is an issue here in Utah?
Yeah, so that's actually a question that she's been asked on the floor and that sort of thing, and she hasn't given a clear answer. I was able to ask her that last night when I interviewed her, and she did give a specific example of a constituent that reached out and basically spoke of the worst case scenario incident that this bill, I guess, is aiming to address, where someone has been in a bathroom exposing themselves or something like that, and then claimed to be part of a community that, hasn't had that sort of legislation written around. The reason why I didn't air that, I suppose, just then is because when you hear stories like this, they're hearsay. In the short time I had, I couldn't find any
We haven't been
police
able
reports.
to independently confirm
Yeah.
through a police department that there's been some sort of a report where somebody claims to be transgender just to hide behind their use of the bathroom. So we have not been able to independently confirm that as a news organization. And I think that's a very important point.
I think in part when I heard this interview, two things, they both resonated. I think both Sue Robbins was correct, and I think Representative Birkeland was correct, where Sue Robbins said, we're concerned that we're labeling transgendered individuals as predators in the bathroom. And Representative Birkeland said, I'm concerned that predators are using transgenderism as an excuse to be a bad actor. So I heard both of them. Am I understanding that correctly? Did I decipher that?
That was the takeaway. I think for a lot of people, part of the community, I mean, first off, being labelled as a predator, and that is, you can, since reading the bill, talking to Representative Birkeland, you can understand where they are coming from with that, because it is identifying transgender people in this bill. But for Representative Birkeland's point, you're right. It's. I think the fear on the other side is, using transgenderism. I think that's the word to basically cover up, inappropriate behaviour, and sort of that I think is the focus on both sides of this. The thing I found most interesting from Sue Robbins was how they're labelling transgendered people, because like we were talking before off air, that's an expensive surgery. That's a big move to make for a lot of people. And so a lot of people consider themselves transgendered without even going that,
I see.
whole distance.
They can't afford to go through the surgery, or they're not at that point in their transition to go through the surgery. And so this piece of legislation could definitely have some negative impacts on people who haven't had the surgery. And is that I mean, Or
Yeah,
the transgender
that's how
community
I'm
feels like
reading
it's going to have a negative impact on them. But you're reading it as if somebody hasn't completely gone through the surgery to transition, it could really target them.
It seems to be drawing a line in the sand of what is considered a transgender person, maybe before society and lawmakers have had the opportunity to fully understand the scope of transgenderism, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I was just seeing in an NBC article that only about 10 or 11% receive both surgeries, both a top and a bottom surgery. So, to your point, it is fairly rare that the entire surgery, the full transitioning surgery, is being done.
Yeah, you've got to be in a pretty good place financially to go the whole distance on this one.
Now, you and our colleague Amy Kobabe have been doing some in-depth reporting on this, Hugo, from the Hill for us, and doing great work and getting both sides, all sides of this developing story up there on the Hill. Where do you, in the 30 seconds or so that we have left, where does this go next? And does it sound like they're going to go back to the drawing board at all and see if they can iron out some of their differences?
They are going to iron out some differences, mainly focused on, that issue we were talking about with, adult children with disabilities going into the bathroom with their parents. They're also going to be looking at funding and making sure that no funding is taken away from domestic violence shelters and that sort of thing. But it is going to the Senate floor after those changes have been
that was a
ironed out.
component, we don't have time now, that was reported earlier on the domestic violence shelters. I just needed some clarity on, so I know we're going to be continuing our coverage throughout the day.
There's a long way to go.
There's a
for
long
sure.
way to go. This
We'll
is
be
just the
talking
beginning. Thanks, Hugo. Ricard Bell, who's been covering HB 257 and the progress that it's made out of the Utah Senate Committee.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's a difficult conversation, and I think it's important to have the conversation and be able to understand what exactly is happening up on the Hill. So, Hugo, thank you for your reporting.
Next, Maria's up with the latest development. Attorneys for Ralph Menzies, who's awaiting execution for the 1986 murder of Maureen Hunsaker. She was kidnapped from a Kearns gas station, murdered, body found up at Big Cottonwood Canyon in the 80s. They're making some statements in court, including that he's not mentally competent and it would be unconstitutional to put him to death.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL